death. It comes to us all. It's important to spend our time wisely in the places that feed your soul with the people that heal your heart. Or you could spend your time listening to the Big Damn Cast, a pop culture podcast hosted by Matt Watson and Chris Johnson, with their ever-present silent partner, the existential horror of your own mortality. Big Damn Cast, available on iTunes, Spotify and SoundCloud every Thursday.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another Out of the Broom Cupboard. I'm Chris Johnson, TV presenter, actor, voiceover man, and general roustabout. This week's episode is very, very special for numerous reasons. One, the guest is the wonderful Shannon Flynn. She's an actor, she's a TV presenter, she's a star of stage and screen. She's also trained to be a counsellor and is looking into the care of mental health for people working within our profession, which, when you hear about it later on in the podcast, makes so much sense, and if we could all chip in and help fund her, that would be amazing. She's not got a fun thing going. I just think we should do it anyway. Let's just all get together, chuck in a quid. We can buy her a desk at least. Speaking of support, if you do want to support the show, patreon.com/OOTBC. Every penny really does help the production of this thing continue, and I'm very grateful for it, because we nearly lost the show this week. The other reason this is a special episode is because my old laptop, a 2012 release MacBook Pro, conked out after the recent update, nearly completely corrupting everything. Now, I always back up the show, of course, onto a time machine and onto an external hard drive, but it meant the production was halted for about a week. Luckily, my best friend and co-host of the podcast Big Damn Cast, which is available on iTunes and Spotify, Matt Watson, stepped in to help render an MP3 version of the main interview so that regardless of what happened, I could edit this episode together and not just be left with thousands of Audacity files and code. I was quite fortunate that I was able to put aside and buy a new laptop this week, which I never thought I'd be able to do, but I managed to make it happen, and wiped the old one. The old one, now wiped and completely free of everything that corrupted it, is functioning fine if you run one program on it. And so, as it turns out, I have a laptop to do my video editing, my writing, my work, and all my business on, and a separate older laptop just to record Out of the Broom Cupboard. It's a portable recording studio. So this is the first episode, edited by the Defiler, the corrupt computer that nearly destroyed the show. My dog's not happy about it, as you can tell. It's alright, Minnie. It's okay. Everything is fine. The episode is about to play. Hope you enjoy. And you'll hear me at the end for all the credits and all that nonsense. This is the first one recorded here.
Is it?
Yeah, first one recorded in the house. Because everybody else is either in London or is a puppet man.
Yeah.
So I was like, do it in my puppet thing. Okay, I guess.
You do Phil's at his, yeah.
We recorded Phil's episode in. He's got a workshop, in his back garden, like a converted shed, and it is just a room full of. Put it this way, cheaper than hiring a studio because it's soundproofed.
Amazing.
Because he's not done that. It's just there's that many felt boxes and things like that surrounding the walls.
So it basically is like that.
It was amazing. It was incredible, but also scary. You know, people go to galleries and they talk about how, the eyes follow you around the room.
Oh, there's loads of puppets in there.
So many puppets. I
feel like they're nice puppets though. It's not like
they are.
It's like Goosebumps, is it? Like
oh right. I'll show you. There's this video I'll show you after we're done because he's got a ventriloquist doll called Cliffer, which I've used for a horror short before, for a horror comedy short and stuff. And it was purposely made to look terrifying. Mm-hmm. So it's got, evil brow and sort of creepy little red lips.
Yeah.
And it's really scary. And that is currently in his attic.
No, I can't. I had my first ever nightmare as a kid from that episode of Goosebumps, Night of the Living Dummy.
Slappy was your first, proper nightmare?
My sister had it on video, and she had all the books, all the Goosebumps books. She loved all that. But there's 7 years between me and my middle sister, so it's a significant amount of time. So she was kind of into all that, and then there was, stuff lying around. And I think either she was watching it or maybe I'd put the video in one day. I can't remember how old I was, but I remember my first ever nightmare was because of watching that video. The fear. So now I'm I find ventriloquism just really weird. I just can't. I can't get my head around it.
Why they've decided that was the look, I'll never understand. You know, like 150 years ago or whatever, when they first were like, this is what these things are going to look like.
Yeah. But
They'll
do you
look
not
like
think
people.
that ventriloquist dummies always play the villain?
Oh, yeah, they're like
Always.
clowns. They've sort of been...
Always.
Yeah, what we
Like,
need
how
to...
am I supposed to laugh at this and enjoy it? Because I'm literally like
Terrified.
petrified. Yeah.
Well, that's why you get people now doing like Jeff Dunham and all them. They do like the ones that look like Muppets.
Yeah.
Which feels wrong to me. That
Is
they're
he the
doing
one that has the
ventriloquism.
skeleton one?
He's Ahmed.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
he's
Yeah,
got the
yeah,
old
yeah.
man and stuff.
Yeah.
Mina Conti's got one that's just a little monkey puppet. That's just this tiny little
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I always find that weird. There's got to be a happy medium.
Yeah.
Something
not the like
creepy and
old
wooden,
school
but-
dummy, but yeah, maybe something different.
God.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan. And then they put the villain in the new Toy Story film was
Oh yeah, she was like a little pull string doll.
yeah,
and then she had those
the
dummies.
ventriloquist dummies that were like
Benson.
henchmen. Oh God! And I was like, we went to see it with my boyfriend and his little sister, and honest to God, watching it, I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. And I'm like
Weird.
looking at his little sister, who's like 10, and she's like, ha, like laughing. I'm like, yeah, it's really funny.
You don't know fear.
I'm definitely not really freaked out right now.
These things are horrifying.
Yeah.
Do you know what else is horrifying?
What?
Podcast sneakily already starting before you realise it. Welcome everybody to
Oh.
Out of the Broom Cupboard. This week we're just going to be talking about ventriloquist dolls.
Shannon's deepest, darkest fears.
Why they're weird. You're not alone. There was a Power Rangers movie called Turbo that came out when I was younger, and the VHS, because it was Fox Kids. Remember Fox Kids? Bloody hell. The VHS.
I do not.
See, there
I'm
you
so
go.
sorry.
There you go.
So
That
the
is
the age gap.
Thank you for making me feel old at 28. Cheers. But it had a Goosebumps ad at the start.
Oh, really?
And the first thing that came on screen was like this haunted house, and then Slappy popped into frame.
Nope.
And I learned, it was one of the first like sort of skills, the first party tricks I ever learned in my life as a human on this earth, was to be able to fast forward that without it being on screen to the exact point that the advert finished.
Yeah.
Like, I just was like, put the tape in, fast forward, don't look, play. The movie started.
It's fine,
Okay.
it's fine. Do you know what though? Those kind of adverts, I say this now, I feel like I tweeted about it not long ago. About, do you know, so like when you're watching like Family Guy, for example, at night on like ITV2,
Yeah.
whatever, and it comes on at like 10 o'clock, and it's like back-to-back Family Guy and American Dad. I watch that before I go to bed, because I like to just have a bit of like something on in the background whilst I'm like dozing off.
That was my BBC Three in my late teens, early
Yeah,
20s. Same
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Just like, I was going to
That's what I
leave
do.
American Dad on in the background.
But then in between like the show or in between shows, they play horror film trailers, and I'm like, I don't need that. The reason I've got this on in the first place is because I'm trying to relax and I'm trying to just have like a bit of background noise, like a bit of funny Stewie or whatever. And
I want to lull myself to sleep to the sounds of Quagmire inappropriately harassing people.
Yes.
That's what I need, you know?
That sends me off straight away. And then they play the horror film trailer and I'm like, why are you doing this to me, ITV2? Like, you've lost a friend. You've lost a friend tonight.
I was watching it the other night, and it was the what do you call it? They've got those is it Uber Eats or Deliveroo ads? The McDelivery, and one of them is a horror film.
Oh yeah.
And I was watching, going, this is intense, and then that happened. I was like, oh, it's a sponsor. All right, okay. Feel slightly less freaked out now. Anyway, we're off on a tangent.
We are.
But I'll be
always.
honest. I think we should just change the topic of the episode to like inappropriate advertisements and killer dolls.
Yeah, no, I hate that.
You must be. I mean, I hate to bring it. You must be slightly unnerved in this room, considering there's quite a few sort of weird horror things just lurking.
Yeah, but do you know what? I love a horror film. I really like horror films.
It's timing.
Yeah, but it's just that when I'm on my own at night and I'm like not in the mood for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
I love a horror film, but I've got to watch it in the day, and I have to watch it with like somebody else. It's like me and my mum are really into horror films, so we'll watch one together.
Yeah.
And then I like watching it in the day because I can kind of laugh at some of the bits, because some, you know, horror films are just so ridiculous sometimes. Like, I'm watching the new series of American Horror Story at the minute.
All right, what are we on now? Like season 410?
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't even know, but it's about...
Apocalypse, is that what it's called?
No, that was the last one.
Oh, that was the Trump one.
No, that was the one
Cult.
before. That was Cult.
Right, there we
then
go.
it was Apocalypse.
Okay. It's already
There's
lost
so
me.
many. There's so many.
It's lost me.
But this one it's like set in the 80s. I think it's even called like 1980s. I don't know, but it's basically set at a summer camp in America.
Right. Okay.
In the 80s, so it's all like tight shorts, and they're all wearing leotards and like, got
Scariest
mad
thing.
perms. Yeah, but it's like cringy, like 80s slasher film.
Oh, right. So they got like Jason sort of route.
Yeah, kind of. And it is. I think it is based on an actual real life serial killer. which is a bit intense. But it's like done in a really like cheesy way. There's quite a lot of comedy in this series. So it's and I think it kind of takes the mick a little bit out of, you know, like when you think of what is it called now? Scream.
Yes.
The Scream film, and I'm only basing this. I don't think I've even seen Scream, but I've seen the Scary Movie version of it.
It's like Psycho. Like, even if you've not seen it, cultural osmosis, you kind of like, I think I've seen it. I must have seen it. I know enough of it.
Yeah, and you know, and there's always like a shower scene. Like the girl in it she's always got massive boobs, and she's in the shower, and she's really vulnerable, and she's washing her hair.
I'm completely unfamiliar with these scenes, and I have never spent time watching them in my life. Of course you haven't. Definitely didn't rewind that one. So there's always like those kind of scenes, isn't there, where it's like some like really fit blonde girl like having a shower, or she answers the phone, or it's something's going. I heard a noise in the cellar. I'm gonna go down the cellar with no lights on and a really dodgy torch. It's just wearing just a towel.
Yeah, and like barefoot, or she's just like in her underwear. Do you know, like really cringe, and you know, like
is this series just full of that sort of stuff?
Totally, but I do love it because it really makes me laugh.
I mean, I'm watching now.
Well, it's like
for research.
For research, obviously.
Yeah.
But me and my mum just like laugh at it. Like in real life, if I heard a noise in the cellar, the house would be up for sale. I would be packing my bags. I'd be round at somebody else's house straight away. I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm all on my own in the dark and all the power's gone. I'm going to head down the cellar and see what it is. Like, no.
This is why I keep boots, a heavy coat, and a flare gun next to me at all times.
Legit. But I would not be the first to die in a horror film, let me tell you that. I'd be like pushing the other girls down into the cellar like, you check it out, Cindy.
What is that? Good question. Why don't you go find out? I'll be up here phoning the police from down the road.
I'll be up here running away.
Good day to you.
Yeah, it doesn't, but it is good. You should watch it.
Would you ever do a horror film if you got the chance?
Would love. It used to be when people would ask me, what is the one thing that you'd really love to do? I'd love to do a horror film.
Would be awesome.
But I wouldn't be cast as the bussy blonde. I'd be cast as like the girl in the ring.
Oh, right, like the one who's just like, no, seriously, why is this happening? This is weird. I'm going to mess with it. I'm going to fight back.
Well, no, not even that.
You mean the TV girl?
I would actually be I would actually be the orphan. Do you not think I have that look?
Not really.
I've not got any tan on.
You could definitely like pull off a part like that, but like say that right now, I'm like, no, you look rather glamorous right now. What are you talking about?
Thank you.
It's like, I'm gonna get you. Oh, hi.
I would love to do a horror film.
Like right now, visually, you're the least intimidating horror villain. She's like, hi, how you doing?
True, but then I have got tan and I've got my makeup on, so like when I was a kid. And I was like really scrawny and little
white and flaking,
pale.
And you crawled up television sets all the time.
All the time. I was possessed as a child. No joking.
It's still in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
She comes out at weekends.
So you don't want to be Ellen Ripley, you want to be the alien.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, if there's anybody listening to this, I'll take any job. It's fine. I'm not picky nowadays, but I feel like I wouldn't be the really like hot blonde girl.
You don't want to play the surface level part. You want to play either something creepier or something with a bit more to it.
Or like you say, the badass one that's like, we're going to figure this out.
If I'm in a horror film, I'm probably the random police officer or security guard who gets killed off in some random scene.
Yeah.
Or I'm the fat stoner best friend of the male lead.
Yeah.
Who gets a comedic death. I'm one of either two parts without doubt.
But either way, you're dead.
Either way, I'm dead and I get paid. So, paycheck, innit?
So true.
We're doing a horror short.
So
it's decided.
Let's do it.
Well, tangents aside.
Yeah.
God, forget it. Let's sack this episode off. For those who didn't listen to me talking about it in the intro, I'm sat down with the lovely Shannon Flynn, who is an actor, television presenter, and just an all-round good egg, ultimately.
Oh, thank you.
And possessed as a child, apparently. Our connection, for those who are like, oh, hang on, you two seem rather, I sort of recognise you two chatting to each other, is because our time working together was on and off in the CBBC office on presentation. But most notably, we did like a year and a half together, I think.
Yeah.
On Shout Out Saturday. Mm-hmm. The sort of the I guess it'd be the softcore reboot of Saturday morning television.
Yeah.
Before they found money.
Yes.
And we're like, let's spend more money on it.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, cheers, guys. Do you remember, though, we tried at one point to be like, sod it, we're just going to do whatever. We got really casual about it because we sort of realised we were a bit of a holdover in terms of a slot.
Yeah.
So we went, sod it, we're just going to do it like it was a casual radio show.
Yeah.
And muck around and do weird stuff, like, just barely go off script, which now, at
Yeah.
CBC Press, as of this recorded, they do that more now.
Oh, do they?
They use that template. They sort of just have, like, notes for a script.
No way.
Some links are scripted, but only if there's, like, an element or a new send-in, things like that.
Right.
Now it's more kind of like, here's a bit of this, here's a bit of this, here's a bit of this. Do what you want with it.
just kind of flow with it.
So what I'm saying is, that's our fault, / our idea.
/ you're welcome.
So we'll have some cash, guys. Take to that cash
should have
line.
trademarked it.
But your history performance goes way back, and you
Yes.
are the first person on this podcast in the year of our Lord 2019 who is an actor first and foremost. That is
Yeah.
that is the beginning of your.
It feels quite impressive, doesn't it? I don't feel very impressive, but
Don't
sounds
be daft. The other ones are putting their hands in talking dog bottoms,
Yeah.
like
When's Katie doing that?
putting her hand in a talk. I'm not even.
Yeah,
not
let's
even
not go there.
incriminator. But it's true because, like, Ian and Ed started out as stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
Katie started out in radio journalism and
Yes.
broadcasting, work and film, Puppeteers. It's sort of the road less travelled when it comes to kids' TV is getting into the presenting stuff, specifically from a performance background, sort of, but an acting background.
Yeah.
It seems like the less common entry point for a lot of people.
Yeah,
weirdly.
yeah.
Unless obviously it's within the dramas. Now, your presenting career kind of came around whilst you were acting and everything,
Yes.
and live TV stuff sort of came about as a result of the stuff that then led on from there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not interested in that yet.
Okay,
What I am interested in is, where did you start performing and when?
Gosh. Well, this is quite the rewind, really, because I'm not that old, but
In 1942.
in the Second World War. No, kind of. I've been working professionally in the industry since I was 10. That's when I had my first ever professional, like, paid job, or 10 or 11, that kind of age. So yes, I've been doing it for, oh God, my maths is literally terrible, but like 13 years basically now, which is quite a long time, really. I've been doing it for more than half of my life. So yeah, it was kind of, I never wanted to do it. So, and sometimes, like, when you hear, I do hear people, or when I read, interviews in magazines, or like when people on the Graham Norton show, and they're like, did you always want to do this? And they're like, yeah, ever since I was like 3 years old, I wanted to be a radio presenter.
I came out the womb with jazz hands.
Totally. But I was just never that
It's a
kid.
nightmarish labour.
Oh God, I don't want to imagine it. But yeah, it was like, that was never sort of like the dream. I wanted to work at McDonald's. Like, genuinely, when I was like 4, I thought that McDonald's was a farm. Like, it was Old McDonald's farm. I did put 2 and 2 together and was like, oh, I want to work on Old McDonald's farm.
And on that farm, they had a clown.
Yes.
And a purple man and a burglar.
Yeah, all of those.
all of
those things. So yeah, I wanted to do that, which is a bit sad, really, isn't it? But
not at all. I think if anything, that's entrepreneurial.
Isn't
like,
it?
as a child, you're like, that's a business.
Yeah.
McDonald, he has a farm.
I want to do
that. I want to do that, and I'll
Yeah.
get a Happy Meal toy at the end of every week.
Yeah, at 4 years old, I was like, Mummy and Daddy, I want to get steaks in McDonald's. Like, literally. But, so I kind of just wanted to do something, like, along those lines. And then it was kind of when I was in, like, year 3, so I would have been about 9-ish, 8, 9.
7, 8? Year 6 is 10, 11, 9, 10, year 5. Yeah, ish. Yeah,
About 6
7,
or
8,
7, yeah. And
maths.
it was like, mine's terrible. And one of my teachers had basically said to Mum and Dad, she's kind of got something there, so maybe you should take her to some sort of class and get her a bit of experience. So I ended up going to just like a local drama class, like in the Rochdale area, which is like obviously where I grew up. As a confidence builder, really, kind of like going and playing games and doing like the odd little sketch or putting on a bit of a show over a workshop, like over the summer.
Like talent showcase.
Yeah, kind of like that. And I just really enjoyed it, really got into it. And then the guy that was running the class in Rochdale just like pulled my parents and were like, she's kind of got something special. I really think that she should pursue it. So it was kind of like other people that pushed me towards that, in a sense, because they felt like that's just like what I was naturally good at. So yeah, and then the guy that was running the class was with an agent. He got me an interview with his agent and was like, she's great, you should get her on the books. Didn't have that many kids on the books at the time. had an interview with them, must have sold myself all right, and then they put me on the books, and it kind of just went from there, really. And then just like auditions started coming in, and
hit the ground running.
Yeah, and I was just really, really lucky. Like my first proper paid job was like a promotional video type of thing, or a training video for Game and Game Station.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so it was like for in-house use, like so to train up people that were going to be working at Game and Game Station, like don't sell age 18 games to underage kids.
Send them to their parents instead, while the kids are clearly stood outside.
Or I'm like the underage kid that's like, can I get Call of Duty, please? And they're like, no, you can't. So that was like my first paid job. And then my second, that was probably like a big thing for me, was I got a part in Macbeth at the Royal Exchange Theatre.
Okay, there's a degree of separation there between can I please buy Grand Theft Auto and like freaking Shakespeare.
Yeah. So
Blimey! So how old are you at the Royal Exchange then? That's
12.
12. Bloody hell! What part was it? Ensemble or was it?
No. So it's one of the witches.
Damn! Okay,
so
right.
The production.
Wait, was this okay? Was it an all-youth production, or was it one where the witches were younger?
The witches were sisters.
I have heard about that. I've heard about that at some point.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'd heard that once. That because the weird, I would say the weird sisters, because Terry Pratchett sort of adapts them into characters in Discworld.
Yeah.
But like, I'd heard about there was a production where it was like very young actors in that role.
Yeah. So it was.
In fact, the RSC's version last year adopted that too.
Oh really?
Yeah, the one where Chris Eccleston was playing the old whatchamacallit. Macbeth, that's the one.
Yeah.
Scottish play.
Yeah.
Oh god, no!
You can say it here. I used to say it all the time, to be fair. It's probably not a good idea, but...
No, but I'd heard about that long before I'd seen that version. And I was like, oh, so it was probably the Royal Exchange one then.
Possibly.
Bloody hell.
The guy that directed it was called Martin Dunster. I think it might be the latter. I can't actually remember that many years ago.
Marty D.
Marty D, yeah.
Almighty D.
He directed it and he wanted it to be set, so it was set in like a war-torn Scotland, but it was set like modern day.
Right,
but
okay,
but the script was traditional Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So all the lines were the original play, like it wasn't adapted.
As verbatim.
Yeah. But set in modern day. So basically, the three witches were three weird sisters, and it was basically it was actually quite harrowing, really, to think about it. Like, I never saw it because I was in it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance.
Funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, never mind. Never got round to it. So we were, in the first scene, it's like me as the youngest sister, then my middle sister and my eldest sister in a kid's bedroom, and it's got bunk beds, a rug, we're watching like CBeebies on the TV. She's plaiting my hair, the other one's like filing her nails or whatever, and we're like typical sisters just hanging out in a bedroom. And we're on stage as the audience come in. We're already there. So it's like, oh God, everyone's like, oh, what's going on? Because normally, obviously, you come in, take your seat, then the lights go down, then the show starts. But we were already like acting.
And even then they're going, where's a cauldron? Like, what's going on?
Totally.
Is this how we're starting? This isn't in the thing.
Yeah.
Is this a short?
Yeah.
Is it a Pixar short?
But I think it drags you in though, because you're not expecting it. And then so we're all hanging out, and then I think there might have been like a few lines at the start, possibly. And then all of a sudden, two soldiers burst through the door. And basically, the two Scottish soldiers, kind of burst into the room and kind of attack us, really. And, the elder sister's kind of assaulted by one of the soldiers, and we all get dragged out. I'm thrown over a soldier's shoulder. That's quite the tongue twister, isn't it? Over a soldier's
Throw me over a soldier's shoulder. Ooh, that's tough.
And I'm like screaming, crying. It's like it's really emotional. A lot of people walked out after the first scene because they were like, I can't sit here and sit through this. It sets the tone really for the rest of the show. But
it's expensive 2 minutes.
Yeah. But do you know what? It was fantastic. Like, I would love to do that exact production again, but like play one of maybe the older sisters.
Yeah, and talk about baptism by fire as well for like, welcome to Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And we're going to get pretty harrowing here. Like, we're going to be pretty shocking from the off.
Yeah.
How did 12-year-old Shannon kind of process that? Like, did she sort of get the weight of it as much, or was it more how it was painted for her? Like, here's what we need, here's what this means.
Yeah. Well, I think I've always I've been an old head on young shoulders my entire life. Like, I've just always been like that anyway. So I think I did have a really good understanding of actually what it was about. But yeah, I think I don't remember ever thinking, oh God, that's a bit much. I think I was kind of like, it's a show. I get that it's a show. It's part of it. You know, it's not real.
We're telling a story.
Yeah, totally.
Probably why, like horror films so much, you can make that slight disconnect.
Yeah, possibly. Or maybe I'm just a bit of a weirdo. But I mean, I just absolutely loved it. And getting to do Shakespeare at such a young age. And I think a lot of people then do say to me, oh, like, was it a youth production? And I'm like, no, it was a legitimate, like, it was an adult production. And there was
Exchange, bloody hell.
Yeah, there were a couple of young actors in it. So, like, I was one of them, and also, because of licensing, 2 other girls played the same part as me.
Of course, yeah.
So I could go to school and, like, actually learn something on the side as well as doing that. And there were also 2 young boys that played, it's called Macduff, isn't he? Macduff's son. And it's actually, claim to fame now, Tom Glyn Whitehead he was called.
Yeah.
He's actually called Tom Glyn Kearney now, which is his new stage name. He was in Dunkirk.
Right.
So, like,
this is the beginnings for a lot of people in terms of the journeys they're gonna
take. But yeah, so like, and me and him got chosen to do the press night.
Nice.
So that was like,
nice.
You know, to say like, you know, we want you to be the one that does the performance.
You guys
for
are the ones
press
who are going to
night.
make the impression.
Yeah.
For the broadsheets and everything that are now going to tell people to come and see this.
Yeah, so that felt quite exciting. I think
really
that
cool.
was like a bit of an achievement, I sense, at a young age. It was like, oh, I get to do press night, so they must think I'm all right.
It's like, stand aside, everyone!
Yeah.
Just suddenly turned to a very camp sort of like theatrical gentleman in his late 60s.
He's like,
everyone
action!
move aside! This is my scene. It's like, Shannon, we're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But it was great. I mean,
Fussy, Marsha Graham. Just turn to the birdcage then for a second. So theatre is the beginning. And the game commercial, which I'm sure will exist on the internet somewhere.
It's got to be somewhere.
I'm so curious. I'm so sorry. People, don't look it up. I'll do it. So, does theatre continue on after that? Is theatre where your love and profession remains for a while, or does TV come calling soon after?
Yeah, TV pretty much was straight after that, because kind of whilst I was in Macbeth, I got offered, I got the call for the audition for Waterloo Road, and Jason Doan, who was in Waterloo Road, who played Tom, one of the teachers, he was in Macbeth with me at the time. And I went for the audition, and actually Michelle Smith, who was casting it, she came to see the show, and she saw me in it.
Oh, so Macbeth opened the door then?
Well, I think it definitely helped, because I had the audition, and then also I think there
is no better audition really than someone just seeing you doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're really good.
Yeah, proof that you can do it.
It's like, because then all you've really got to prove is like, okay, let's see if they match the thing we're looking at them for.
Totally. Yeah.
The bona fides are there.
Mm-hmm.
To impress somebody at the age of 12, for them to be like, yeah, let's get the conversation going.
Well, yeah.
Damn.
And so I got the call for the audition, went to that, and I mean, so Waterloo Road was filmed in Rochdale, which was like, it was my favourite programme, because nothing happens in Rochdale. Like, it's literally like the deadest town. It's like voted the worst place to live in England like 3 times in a row. So you can imagine, obviously, the whole of Rochdale watched Waterloo Road, and it was a great show anyway, but it was massive in Rochdale.
That sense of pride, because it was like, oh my god, the same way, like, you know, Russell T Davies' programme sort of gave Manchester this extra boost of sort of like, you know, look at us, we're great.
And I think you do. I think, you know, if they were doing a programme of around, or it's shot round near where you live, you do want to watch it, because you're like, oh, there's that pub, or there's that road, or such a body used to live on there. Do you know, that kind of thing?
I can't remember if I liked Will Miller's show White Van Man. I can't remember if I liked it at all. I just remember going, oh, Monton, oh, Eccles, that's round the corner from us.
See what you do, don't you? I think you do that. So it was like,
car share.
Yeah.
Like, I spent most of the time watching any car shares, looking out the windows going, where are they? Where are they?
Yeah, so we used to do that with Waterloo Road, but it was like, I watched it right from the start and absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great show. And then to get the call for the audition, I was just thrilled to go to the audition, because I was like, it's Waterloo Road, like, this is amazing. And then I remember...
You don't even have to practice the accent.
Yeah, exactly, I'm already there, it's me. I am Waterloo Road. So then I went to the audition. I think I might have even had a call back, potentially, but then it was this my first real sort of TV audition, so I wasn't expecting anything to come of it. was just thinking it's great to go. You know, you get dead excited, like your first audition.
Gonna learn from the off.
Yeah.
Like, I now know what it's like.
Totally.
I can do it again, and yeah.
You know, and your mum was like saying to you, you know, oh, you don't get your hopes up too much just in case, because you never know. And then I remember being in the car with my mum, driving back from probably school or something, and I got the call to say that I'd been offered it, and I literally screamed in the car because I was like, this is the best day of my life. Because I just loved Waterloo Road. I was like, this is literally like a dream come true for me. And I was, 12, 13 at the time. I must have been 12. I was only in end of year 7, like start of year 8 when I got it. I think I might have filmed it the summer of, like going into year 8. So I was like 12. It was massive. It was massive for me at the time. So I was buzzing, obviously. I was like, this is like, my life has begun.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm travelling down the road. Waterloo.
Yeah.
Waterloo Road. Isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many puns. But yeah. I was just absolutely thrilled.
You can sing ABBA if you want.
To get it.
So, what was the name of the part you played?
Emily James, she was called. Originally, which somebody reminded me of the other day, because I get tagged in stuff with Waterloo Road all the time.
Check the Waterloo Road wiki.
Well, it's been put on BBC iPlayer, just so now I'm getting
the
loads.
back seasons and everything.
Yeah, just recently. So I'm getting tagged in loads of things on Instagram and stuff. I think originally she was going to be called Emily Hughes. Okay. I think. But then they changed it to James, which I'm not sure why.
Oh, it's one of those where, like, in an episode she's named, then later they go, actually, we're going to shift it a little bit and change the name.
No, I don't know if it ever went out as Emily Hughes. It was just, like, on all my first scripts, maybe it said that, and then they were like, we're changing the name to Emily James.
Yeah. So it just never sat right with you after that, because you're sort of like, I'm sure it's Hughes. 12-year-old me committed to learning this.
Yeah. She feels like a Hughes. Like,
I just look at the character and I think, Hughes.
Yeah. Totally.
And nothing else. Don't tell me something else.
But I had forgotten about that until somebody reminded me of it, and I was like, oh yeah, I did forget.
Do the lines blur between 12-year-old performer and 12-year-old character, like, easier, do you think, as a kid? Because I know when I think about roles and stuff now, there's always a moment where I overthink a bit. And so I'll go, right, well, calm down. Like, start with the basics. If you're going to approach it, do this, that, and the other. But I suppose as a kid, you've not, like, developed your technical analysis as much as you would do, say, later on.
Yeah.
Do you rely more on just, like, being who you are to bringing that to the character? Or were you sort of being a bit more methodical and being like, right, so she's going to be like this and she's going to
do you know what? I'm just going to sound like I have no idea what I'm doing, but genuinely, I've always just gone with whatever felt right. That
does not sound like you've got no idea what you're doing at all. That just sounds like
when people,
you're not being awkward like Christian Bale.
Well, yeah, but like when you hear about people being really method and like really get into the role.
Yeah.
I think, well, particularly sort of with some of the roles that I've done, they all tend to have a similar sort of feel. And they don't feel that far from me. I mean, they're not me; they are different. But
you can find an easy through road to be like,
totally.
I'm like them like this,
yeah,
and I'm not like them like this, but I can see why they're like that,
yeah,
because I've thought that once or I've done this. So boom, there we go.
At 12, starting then, you don't overthink it. It's like, I'm thrilled to be in it.
Yeah.
Here's my lines. I've learnt them. And I'm going to pitch them how I pitch them. And then if the director gives me any advice or wants it slightly differently or, a bit of direction from the director, then I'll follow that. But I definitely don't ever remember sort of looking at the script and being like, and what's Emily's motive? Like, where does this sit with her? Where does it come from?
Can I have notes for the next 4 weeks worth, please? I just want to know where her arc is going in its entirety so I can... mentally trick the audience into one thing and then take them on a different journey.
From? Yeah,
Rochdale.
It was like well, she actually came from
Rochdale Pride.
She came from a posh school. Her first storyline was that her and her sister it was a merge. They were doing a big merge between a really like a posh private school and Waterloo Road.
It was around that time they were starting to push schools together and for saving stuff and
that was like the big
sixth forms
storyline.
Were starting to creep into high schools around that time. Yeah, of course. Bloody hell.
So yeah,
back in my day, it was just high school. One school.
Didn't have middle school.
100 pupils in each year. Didn't know they were born. So I suppose translating life experiences is again, you just sort of going with the flow by the sound of it. You're like, yep, sure, this is the character. I'll play the character however I do. I'll take the guidance. I'll be directed.
Yeah.
And this, that, and the other. There's always a common thing with a lot of actors is I definitely got this when I was in college. you sort of get told by casting directors or tutors, teachers and stuff, like, there's two sorts of categories for an actor.
Yeah.
You're either, and not necessarily in the strictest sense, but like, you are either a lead or you're a character actor. And I remember hearing that and thinking, that is incredibly limiting. Why would you lump it into that directly?
Right.
And by lead, they sort of did not necessarily mean, like, you know, the main part or, like, in those parameters, but sort of a more naturalistic kind of approach or more natural characters. And character actor is where it gets a bit more odd. You start to dip into genre stuff or you start to play the more kind of seedy people within society and things like that. Was 12-year-old you like, okay, I'm playing sort of, you know, I'm playing a very relatable person I can understand.
Yeah.
I want to play something different and weird as well. Did you ever get the desire earlier on, or...?
I think probably not as a kid, just because...
Because I know from working with you, like, you are always up for doing weirder stuff and experimenting and playing against type, but, like, as a kid, does that cross your mind?
No, probably not. I think maybe at a really young age, I kind of just wasn't bothered at all about what kind of parts that I would be going for, and then you kind of, just because of what I look like, you tend to go for... You always end up getting sent for a particular type of character. So I was young, small, petite, you know, dark hair, blue eyes, that kind of thing. I think your look dictates a lot of the parts that you're going to go for anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I don't think I really thought about it. And then when I got a little bit older, it became a bit more about, oh, I don't really like what I look like. And it was kind of the insecurities kicked in, going through puberty and being like, you know, I just want to play pretty characters. I want to play people that have nice makeup and nice hair. And I remember doing Doctors when I was about 14, and I had like really horrible blonde highlights that I don't know how, like, why I let the hairdresser do that to me. I'll have no idea. And like actually paid him and let him walk out the house. It was horrific.
You were his canvas.
Yeah, but literally, this guy told me that I couldn't have proper blonde highlights because of my car flicks, like the front of my hair.
Yeah, so
my parting goes up.
Can't have a highlight.
Muggy, because it's not true. I've got blonde highlights now. Idiot. So anyway,
what that says is he wasn't a great hairdresser. Ultimately,
no, he wasn't. And my basically the point of that is that my hair just didn't look nice at all. You know, I'm 14. I'm really self-conscious. I'm really struggling with all of that. Like, you know, being like a late developer as well. Like all my friends were like, you know, all had boyfriends and stuff, and I just wasn't doing that. Like I was really focusing on the acting.
Yeah, like your passions and focus was in a completely different place.
I think you do get in your own head about stuff. So basically, like, I've got this part in Doctors, and they dressed me. Oh god, it was horrendous. It was really low budget Doctors, and it was like really.
For those who don't know, so it's like a middle of the day, sort of soap drama, medical drama series.
Yeah.
It's not always set in a hospital.
No, but it's like a lot of it was set in, like, at the start was sort of a GP surgery, but now they've got a police department and things like that. So it's a daytime soap opera type thing. So it's really tame, you know, they don't tackle a lot of like really difficult issues kind of thing. But it's great, and it's such good like fun to be
easy
a part
watching,
of.
like relatively well put together, but it's sort of, the channels kind of designate these soaps to the middle of the day to be like, that's your time.
Totally.
That's your time, guys.
And it is low budget, and they shoot so fast, like the turnaround is literally like...
They never stop, do they? They're
no.
just constant.
It's crazy.
It's
so
insane.
They put me in these really horrible, like, cheap jeans. I think I had, like, really horrible cheap trainers. I think they were, like, Lonsdale. So, like, no offence
Bloody
to,
hell.
like, Phil, because I know that Phil wears them. But I was, like, not a vibe.
Like, 14-year-old Shannon's like, no, thank you.
No,
thank you.
And this, like, wrap-around, like, pink cardigan. And then my hair scraped back into, like, a mid-ponytail. Which, like, if you're a gal, you know, it's either a high ponytail, or if you've got the face shape, you can do a low pony. But a mid... Nobody's rocking a mid. It's not a thing. This like mid ponytail and this horrendous outfit, and no makeup. Like, did not filled my eyebrows in, no mascara, no face makeup. And this is before I'd kind of discovered tan or anything like that. And I remember I just came back from makeup, and I came back to the dressing room. My dad was in there, and I just burst into tears. I was like, I feel so ugly, and this is going to be on TV, and people are going to see it, and, you know, people are going to look at me and think she's so disgusting. And I was so in my own head at that age that what was most important to me was like loads of makeup, nice hair, nice costume.
Yeah.
So I think I did really struggle at that time with kind of accepting that you're playing a character, and you kind of need to accept that that's...
Yeah, it's not you on display. It's the character who people are seeing.
But I think I just felt really insecure about people seeing me, like, with no makeup on. And it took me a very long time to get over that. Like, even when I was at CBBC, like, when I talked to the makeup artist now, like, we laugh about it. Like, when I was first started at CBBC, because I was only 16 at the time. When I'd come into makeup, I'd be like, so I like a really thick base, so, like, really heavy foundation. And then I would have concealer, like, a lot of concealer on top of that. Mm-hmm. You know, I've got really young skin at 16. You don't need that much makeup, but I just felt so uncomfortable. And I'd be like, I want false lashes on. You know, I want my hair. I want a weave. Like, I was just obsessed with image.
I suppose it's. I mean, it obviously at that age it's quite. And this is again why, like, you're such a unique case in the world of the stuff that we've been in.
Yeah,
is because like you very much grew up doing that, and part of that complication, I suppose, is like you said, you had to kind of push past. It's a character, not yourself. But then not too long after that, Friday Download starts.
Yeah.
Where you are yourself.
Yeah.
And was this your first presenting job then? Like, first, like, I'm hosting?
Yeah, but it was... The way it got offered to me at first was I did some VTs for them. Mm-hmm. So because of Worsley Road, because I was known...
Of course, yeah, Series 1 would have been. Series 1 or 2.
Or 2, I think it was 2 at the time. And I did some...
I forget that. There was at least 4 lineups, I think, wasn't there? And you were in lineup 2 and 3.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was the first round of replacements, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was like...
Again, for those who don't know, Friday Download was sort of like a magazine/review show.
Yeah.
With, you know, studio live music in the studio, not live on television, and a different segmented stuff with a team of presenters, of which you were one of the team.
Yes.
One of the two teams.
Yeah.
2 teams.
So I did VT
the golden
stuff.
era. And I can say that.
It was the golden era.
Because I was a viewer. That was the golden era of Friday Download.
It was, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was when we'd kind of... It had improved.
I'm not biased.
It had improved. And like the show in general, not necessarily us as presenters, but it was like the show had kind of... It was a bit more up to date. It was a bit more current.
You guys, I think, were definitely a more well-oiled machine as it went on too, because it became like... It was a job.
Yeah.
So it's like, yep, we know what we're doing now. We know how it's working.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, with the segments and everything, everyone's designated different stuff. They can vibe it.
Yeah.
I won't ask too much about that because I know we've got a question about that specifically later. So I'll save that.
Okay.
I'll save our discussion.
All right.
But, yeah. And it's... Friday Download was a very strange thing for myself because I was very involved in researching the programs we were putting out on the channel because at this point I was presenting on the channel the weekends and holidays, and I always made sure whatever new show started I'd watch at least a couple of episodes so I'd familiarise myself and get into it. And Friday Download was at this weird transitional period where there was a bigger focus on viral stars coming in, which I have a whole bugbear, and I will probably do an entire episode on at some point of Broom Cupboard. I'm just going to sit there and be like, right, here's why this doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, but also there was a bigger emphasis on bringing in much younger talent to front the shows, be it in the dramas. Like I remember at that point, I think Danny's House had been and gone, and then Danny's Castle came around. And there was definitely a focus on a younger cast. In fact, adults rarely ever appeared in that, did they?
There weren't any really. There was a few guest roles that were played by adults, but all of the main cast were. And that is, when you think about it, kind of like that's big. That's big. Like, not many shows would do that. Would they just be like, oh no, our cast are mostly going to be between like the age of 14 and maybe even younger. Yeah, they were like about 10.
Like 10 and 20, and that's our cap, and there they are. Yeah. It's like, whoa, okay. Friday Download was sort of part of that wave, and it was also this weird thing of, as part of the viral incorporation, they were very much trying to sound like the internet when they were commissioning new shows. I mean, the title alone, Friday Download. You're so downloading the information. I never even thought about it. Which doesn't, to what, Friday Download started, what, 2012, 2013? So, cynical 22, 23-year-old me. No, it would have started earlier than that. You're right. I think the first series was broadcasting just before we moved from London. It might have been like 2010, possibly. Could have been. Oh, God. Because I did do it when I did some of the VT stuff, and when we did like the last show of one of the series before I started, we were at was it TV Centre? Yeah. Did you shoot there? Oh, gosh. Yeah, so it would have been 2011 then at the latest, or early 2012 maybe. Yeah. But I remember early 20-something me going,
trying to bring the internet to the point. This doesn't make any sense. The title doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah,
What are you downloading? And then I watched it. I was like, no, I completely get what they're going for here. This makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just old and cynical and barely legal to drink, but still cynical. And jaded. But yeah, so it was an odd time, but I think the show definitely rang true with viewers. Like, it was popular, and especially when it got that proper end of Friday afternoon slot that it fit into for the majority of its runtime. Like, it did connect with the viewers. We would get an insane amount of correspondence from viewers about it.
People loved it,
and I think it was that gateway of, these guys aren't that much older than me. I relate to them way more than I do to the other people who were on it. Did you kind of get that when you were presenting it, or were you more just sort of like, oh, what am I doing now? This is different.
I think we totally did, and that was more from sort of the social media side, because we had not a live audience with us that were children. But I think they had to be under 14. That was the cut-off age.
They wanted to make sure it was within the parameters of the channels. Sort of.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I know there were so many, sort of early teens or late teens that loved the show, that were either the same age or potentially even older than I was, because I was a couple of years younger than some of them, and then sort of the same age as some of the others. We were all kind of within that bracket of maybe between kind of, when I started at 16, I did VTs when I was about 15, but I think maybe I started properly on it when I was about 15, 16. And I did it until I was 18, 19. So it was kind of that's the age range of all the presenters. We were all kind of similar age. And I remember getting messages on Twitter and Instagram and stuff from 19-year-old girls that were like, God, I love Friday Download, and they fancy all the boys, obviously. And I mean, Jeremy, who was the producer, he knew what he was doing. He was putting young, attractive guys on that gets all the older. There were a lot of older teenage girls watching it for them.
It was the visual sort of equivalent of the teen magazines from the 90s. Really, that's the sort that kind of don't exist in the same way today. But
so even if they watched it, if they weren't necessarily watching it for the show, even if they didn't like the show,
was a decade, a few years ago.
What's the 90s?
It was a while back now.
Oh, okay.
You might not know because
I was alive for some of the 90s. With the
you
good old
you
days.
Weren't there, man. You weren't there. When Girl Power came around the first time, you weren't there.
I know. Do you know what? I should have been. That is me all over.
Chucklevision was on all the time.
I love Chucklevision. That was my era. It was my era.
We never got to present into it. I always regret that.
Yeah, fuming about
sort of
that.
stopped a few years before we were on.
Oh no, can't bring it back.
So it's kind of a very structured, very manufactured program. Its wheels are already in motion by the time you join the in studio team. How did you process that shift from acting to basically the polar opposite? Because it's not really a performance.
Well, I think I kind of transitioned.
It's a performance, but it's not.
It's not.
You're not going. The same. So what is this Shannon's motivations? What's her thing?
Well, I think with presenting,
is she older than me? Does she have a Scottish accent?
What is she thinking? With presenting though, I do feel like it's you, but it's an amplified version of you. So there's an element of acting in it. Because, say you're having a really down day, as we all do, you can't bring that. You can't be like, Shannon's really down today, so she's not going to give it her energy. She's not going to give it her all.
Got to turn it on for the microphone. Yeah.
So I think,
for the microphone, on the camera.
For whatever
the camera.
Whatever it is that's recording you at the time.
Your Honour.
You do have to. It's still a performance because you're being yourself, but it's an amplified version of yourself. And because I started off doing VTs, it was all scripted. Not that Friday Download was scripted, but it was scripted in a bit of an acting way, kind of thing. All the pieces to camera were a bit cheesy, and they were
sort of weird little
Shannon
asides
Flynn.
and
yeah,
things like that.
It was oh, hi, Shannon Flynn here. You're watching Friday Download. We're going to do Style Download, and today I'm at such a buddy's house, and I'm going to teach him how to put up a tent. Let's go. That's not even a joke. That was one of my first VTs.
Wait, that was a Style Download?
It's
a really nice tent, guys.
Yeah.
You don't understand.
So
it's a really nice tent.
You did there was an element of acting in that.
Yeah. I OB and VTs and stuff. I guess you sort of think of them more as little films.
Yeah,
in a way,
which they were. So, and then I suppose because it started like that, that was maybe kind of half acting, half presenting. So that when I actually joined the show, it didn't feel like a massive jump. It kind of just felt like I have a personality. Like, I can talk, I can laugh, I can joke, I have something to say, I have something to offer, something to bring. So I just need to be able to do that, but fit it in with the script, if that makes sense. So it didn't feel like I was like, oh my God, how do I present? It just kind of felt like something that I already knew how to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, I know what you mean. You kind of filter what you already know and what you're already comfortable with just through a new prism.
Yeah, and I think if I watched the first series that I did a Friday download back, I'd probably be absolutely repulsed by it all and be like, I was horrendous. I definitely should have thought that. Should have given that more thought. But by the end, I think I found my way with it, and I think I found my own kind of style and what I did. And then obviously doing The Office at CBBC, doing CBBC HQ, but it was The Office obviously before that, when I was there.
The golden era.
It was the golden era. I've got to say, I was part of all the golden eras of all these shows.
We smashed the champagne bottle on HQ.
We did.
We're like, off you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good luck.
Good luck, Ship HQ. You strangely familiar looking room.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the same studio, guys. It totally isn't.
Not
the same studio with the liquor paint.
I remember the revamp of that.
I think we had HQ
morning.
for 2 months. I think we had like 2 months where we were in HQ and not the office. Yeah, it bleeds into each other a bit because the office before it became HQ was also like purple and square column things and all that. So it's sort of it had that zhuzh up. Being the age you were doing Friday Download and sort of a bigger spotlight on you, I suppose, at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already a difficult world to be a young woman in any way, in any possible context.
Yeah.
What were the pressures like for that, to be a part of like a TV format that was magazine-y, obviously kind of has that cult following in a way, like you say, people get really obsessed with it and you get like, you have fan factions and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's politics itself within television, how everyone's represented. I mean, there was a very uncomfortable sort of period where there was stuff going on with Download, wasn't there, in terms of how people were made up, which became like a point of contention. Yeah,
but do you know what? I will talk about that because that was totally blown out of proportion.
Oh yeah, well, it was a tabloid thing,
as to what it was, and that was never said to me.
It was column inches. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was Michelle. No, Melissa Hardinge. I knew it wasn't Michelle. Melissa Hardinge.
Or Melly H.
Or Melly H. I forget, I'm so terrible with names. Melissa Hardinge, because she was a producer on it as well, and she was really heavily involved with CBBC, which is when it was separate, as into Friday Download, but she was kind of both.
Yeah. She was across the programme, but the mediator for the franchise, as it were.
You worded it much better than I did. But she
is talking nonsense. It eventually makes sense.
She was... Apparently it was like she had been misquoted about saying something about that we were slightly too heavily made up. That it was that we were looking a little bit old. But at the end of the day, we were 18.
Yeah.
So how do you make an 18-year-old girl look 14? She's not, because we were growing up, we were becoming women.
Exactly. So, it's an invisible controversy that is there to fill inches in a column, basically.
Totally. But then they'd made out like it was like Shannon and Dion have been pulled to one side and told to take off their red lipstick. Like, I wasn't a red lipstick wearer. Ask my makeup artist. I used to ask for nude every time. I'd be like, I want a nude lip with like a soft eye and a liner. That's what I used to ask for every single time. I totally understand all of
these things.
You so do. I know you've been watching those Jamie Genevieve YouTube videos. That's what I used to ask for. So, and what they'd done is I think they might have put a pink lip on me once, which is I'm against a pink lip, if you know me.
Back off.
I do not like pink lip. But they'd put one on me for whatever reason, because it like maybe went with the like really horrible jumper I was wearing at the time.
Of course, it was one of the shows with like stylists and everything, wasn't it? Yeah.
So they used to dress us. Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you are being yourself in a way.
Yeah, but like,
here's what you should wear.
Be yourself, but like not that version of you.
Oh, thanks.
So they put this pink lip on me, basically, and then there was maybe a still on the internet of me from Friday Download doing I think I was doing a VT. I was doing a style VT of how to like braid your hair, like how to do a fishtail plait, I think it was. And it was a still from that had been put on Google. And then basically what they'd done is, I think it was the Mirror, maybe? No, the Metro it was. That I think, I know, who even reads the Metro? Boring. They had took this still.
I use it to cover the seat so I don't have to sit in someone else's
dirtiness.
We'll do it the sports page up just to see what the scores are.
Yeah,
obviously.
Of
course.
Other than that.
Yeah, stereotypes, of course.
So they took this still anyway, and they'd edited it to make my lips look red.
Because they played the contrast.
Yeah, they just made it look darker. I never had a red lipstick on. And then the headline's like, "See boobies. We don't want sexy presenters." That's what it was. And I was like, I am dead. That's what it was. I was like, it's brilliant. Who's come up with that? I want that tattooed on my body somewhere.
Well, someone who doesn't know the names of the channels, apparently.
Yeah.
God.
I thought it was brilliant, though.
It's ridiculous.
I was like, Mum, I'm famous.
But that's what I'm saying. It's that weird pressures, like, sort of, that add on to the stuff that you're already sort of internally dealing with in your life at that time. And for suddenly a paper to be like, we know what's better for you. Yeah. We know how you should be presenting yourself as a human being.
I just thought the whole thing was hilarious. Like, I genuinely, and I wasn't bothered about it. A lot of things upset me at that age, like, you know, sort of like nasty online comments and, you know, things surrounding that. But that didn't bother me at all, because I was like, there's not an ounce of truth in that. And I think at the end of the day, you've got to take anything that you read in the tabloids with a pinch of salt, because it's amplified and it's altered, it's exaggerated, it's because everyday life stories don't normally make the papers because it's boring. Yeah. No one's bothered.
We have both worked with people in recent years who are sort of tabloid favourites for articles and thought pieces on like their mental state and things like that. And we both know that some things are true, some things are not true. Yeah. And it is odd to think that there's an altered reality that exists simply just to momentarily entertain some people one morning briefly while they're looking at a thing for a minute. And
it's
then go,
bizarre, isn't it?
Oh, isn't it weird about them? Isn't that strange? Oh, that's disgusting, that. And then they move on with their life.
Well, it's like they say, today's newspaper, tomorrow's fish paper. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
That is so...
Not anymore!
No
health and safety violation. There was a lady on LBC who argued that she wanted to, without getting too political, she wanted to leave the EU right down when they boiled it down to like, so what was the reason you really wanted to leave the EU? The reason she boiled it down to was that she was like, well, you know, you can't even have newspaper on your fish and chips anymore.
Oh, God.
It's like, what?
Get a life, Brenda. Get a life.
She probably was a Brenda.
Yeah.
No offence to any Brendas out there, unless you're that Brenda. In which case, get a life, Brenda.
Yeah, get a life, Brenda.
It's odd to think that, but there are, of course, upsides to getting to work in a profession that you adore at that age too.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it must have been a blast doing Danny's Castle, for example. Like, I mean, obviously, again, tight production budgets on CBBC are never particularly huge. So there's certain sort of shortcuts and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, you're going to work and earning money at a young age.
Doing what you love.
To faff around, pretending you're talking to ghosts and, you know, get up to sitcom shenanigans for several hours a day.
I think the one thing I say is, if you want to get into this industry for the money, don't bother, because it's not there. It's like 1 in 50 of us are making an okay wage from it. That's the truth. If you want to do it, you do it because you love it and you're passionate about it, not because of anything else that comes with it. That's just cold hard facts of it. Yeah. And it is hard work, and I think people probably look at us and think, well, they haven't got a proper job and they don't do this and they don't do that. And yeah, maybe I haven't got a proper job, because of what I do. I go to work every day and I love it. But the long hours, the longest hours I've ever done was
it's not easy.
Danny's Castle. If you're talking from the moment you get picked up from your hotel, which already makes it sound a bit like, ooh, when I get picked up from my hotel. But it was a Holiday Inn, guys. So, like, you know, I'm not saying in, like, the bloody Hilton.
Other brands of hotel are available.
Yeah, they are. They're all great.
But they're not as cheap and easily accessible to productions. So
they're not as good for the budget.
Anyway.
They, so you get picked up at, like, 6 o'clock in the morning.
IHOP, was it? I can't remember what it's called now.
I don't know. Ibis, yeah.
Is it Ibis? That was the one with the keys. There's one of the keys that CBBC would sort of. That was what they used to that was their go-to if they needed to put someone up briefly.
Possibly. I just know I always used to stay in the Ibis opposite London Euston because it was just close, like right next to the station. But anyway, enough about hotels.
The licence fee is paid respectfully, guys. Like, it's never abused.
Never abused.
At least not at the level of people who actually work creatively.
Well, we're not getting it anyway. Wherever it's going. So, you get picked up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. you'd be on set maybe all day. Like, particularly when we were doing the mice scenes in Danny's Castle.
Of course, yeah.
They were ridiculous. Like, we would get picked up, and then we'd have to have breakfast, like, straight away when we got there, because once they start putting the mouth on you, like...
Yeah, it was prosthetics for that
stuff,
prosthetic
mat, which is the most horrific thing I've ever experienced. I hated it. Having it put on was so uncomfortable, like round your mouth. It was. We didn't have proper prosthetics.
It's that like Who from Whoville sort of like raised up a mouth thing, wasn't it?
Because it was over my lip, and we didn't have, with the budget, we had proper prosthetics made, but we didn't have then a proper prosthetics makeup artist fitting them, putting them on, taking them off.
Yeah,
and also. So
the artists on set are doing the best they can.
Yeah,
but
it's normal makeup artists that haven't done special effects or prosthetics. So, they're putting it on you, and then the budget is so low that you can only have one mouse mouth. Like, I think the first time we did it, we only got one mouse mouth and nose for the whole thing. Each.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so then they had to take it off in a certain way that they didn't ruin it and they could reapply it.
Limit the damage and...
Yeah, and I think I can't remember what they used to use, but it used to make me heave. God. And it got to the point where I said to the producer, who I really got on with, Ray, he's a lovely little guy, still speak to him now, I was like, I don't want to make things difficult for you, but I'm really struggling. Like, I'm literally heaving. It's making my eyes water. Like,
it's like the way like your lower lip rubs up against it and things like that.
Everything about
kind of takes it. I don't hate prosthetics, but like normally you kind of know how long you're going to be in them. Whereas with that, I guess it was a thing of like, if we get another series, I'm going to have to do this again.
Yeah.
And it's making me physically unwell on the day.
So, I think on the second series, then they were like, right, okay, we need to do something about it. And then I think we did like a full day of it in each block. So all of my scenes in that episode would be saved to like the last day of the block, and then everybody else would get the day off. And like it was like me and Richard for the first series, and then he kicked off about being a mouse because it wasn't cool. It wasn't like good for his street cred. So
Hey, come on. Like, it's worked for Mickey for 70 odd years.
But also, like,
he's rolling in it.
It's a CBBC show, and it was supposed to be good fun. So anyway, he didn't do it then for the next series. It was Niall.
Oh, yeah.
And he was really up for it, which it was so much more enjoyable, because like, he wanted to give it his all, and like, we could just have more fun with it. And then in like the second series, then I think they did splash out a bit, and they got us a prosthetic nose for each block.
Yeah.
So rather than having to take it off
each time.
Yeah, which was better, because it was just so uncomfortable trying to get it off.
I suppose as well because it does just get a bit crustier as time goes
by. And it's stuck to your skin.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to lather it in baby oil and like get the glue off, and then just take it off and scrub your face. That's what you want to do with it, and we couldn't do that when we had one nose per series.
You have to just kind of remove it and then do aftercare. Like, for yourself, but it's not quite...
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible. But yeah, so the mice scenes that we'd do, so you obviously get up in the morning at 6 o'clock, or probably earlier, to be honest, for the mice scenes, you'd probably be getting picked up at like 5:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Driven to set, and then when you get there, really quick bit of breakfast, straight into makeup, and they bought us like just like little cheap tracksuits to put on, like so we didn't have to walk about in the mouse costumes, because they were massive and like really heavy
cumbersome
and thick, and the feet and the arms, and
we're talking thick with CK, guys. We're talking thick with a CK.
Yeah, totally.
So it's not, this is
thick.
This is not going out on the town.
No.
Sort of like, look at me.
It was. I mean,
I'm a mother-loving mouse.
I loved the hood. That was really cute.
Yeah.
Because I had like the big ears, like big furry ears, and I had like I think I had bows on my ears, which were dead cute, and then the feet were funny. It was all good. It was great. But yes, and you'd get a prosthetic on, and then we would go upstairs into the room that we did the mice scenes in, which would all be set, and we'd do a read through, and then we would we'd do a read through, and then we would stage it, and we'd do like a walkthrough. And then we would be sent off whilst the camera's set up to get into costume. Mm-hmm. So then somebody would be dressing us. Like, so we'd have like a white, like baby grow almost on underneath. So you'd have that on, and then the mouse costume to absorb all the sweat.
Oh yes,
so it didn't all go on the costume.
Yeah.
And then they put like big, like, long gloves, pink gloves with big, massive nails stuck on them, and big, massive polystyrene feet that have got, like, all pink felt round them, and then your hood on, and you'd waddle back in, and everyone's like, watch your tail, look after your tail, don't ruin the costume.
I'm assuming you boomed for that then, or were they mic'd as well?
No, I think we were mic'd as well.
Oh, God. And then the sound person's getting annoyed because they're like, oh, you've got it all wet. It's like,
Yeah,
of course I've got it all wet.
I'm dripping in
Covered
here.
in sweat.
But yeah, then you would do that, right?
That's my least favourite ongoing complaint from anyone who works in sound. Just,
Yeah.
oh, you
It's
sweated
all
all
wet.
over it.
It's
Of
just-
course I have.
why is
They've
it so
put it inside a
moist?
giant costume and we're under hot lights.
Yeah.
Of course I've sweat on the mic pack.
Northern Ireland, where we filmed it, is like notorious for not having nice weather.
Yeah.
And then we, for some reason, one of the days that we did the mice scenes on, it was the hottest day of the year in Northern Ireland. So it was like, I think it must have been about 30 degrees. It was really hot. And we're in these massive suits and we've got they got us like air conditioning, like big vent things to have like in the room where we were waiting.
Of course they've got to turn them off for takes though.
Yeah,
for sound.
And keeping us hydrated and stuff. Like the team were great. They were brilliant. Like, you know, I've no complaints about that at all. The thing that I hated the most, apart from the whole taking the nose off, putting it back on situation, was that for lunch you weren't allowed to have anything wet.
Oh, just in case, like, spillage for the costumes or it touched the prosthetics.
The
and messed with it.
prosthetics, yeah. So it was like,
So you're eating really dry, like, stuff, which then, of
yes,
course,
like,
is just sort of
what do you
sitting in
want
your
for
stomach.
lunch? Oh, I'll have the plain rice and plain chips, please. And that'd be my lunch for the day because you couldn't have any sauce.
Can I have some vinegar? No. Oh,
No.
Okay.
Couldn't even have ketchup. Couldn't have anything.
Could someone blend a full English into a milkshake for me and
was
just give me a
horrible.
very long straw?
Yeah.
I promise I won't let it touch this lip. It'll just touch the other one.
Yeah.
Just cook it up to my veins.
Yeah, just put it straight in my stomach.
Bacon sandwich drip.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But I suppose with those things, you look at the end product and you go like, okay, I get it now. I get why we just went through all that, because there it is, it works, and it's a thing.
But we didn't do it series 1.
Yeah.
Because they were
first series
flashbacks.
was flashbacks to Danny's house.
No, just flashbacks.
Oh, right, okay.
Or like dream sequence type things.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, that's saving somebody. Like,
Yeah.
we've got this other show, let's just show clips from,
Yeah, let's just cut back to
from the
that.
other show for a bit.
Totally unrelated. But
Like,
no, yeah.
everybody's completely different except Danny. How does this work? Does anyone get residuals? This is the BBC, darling, in the
No.
21st century.
It's a
No one
buyout,
gets
it's a buyout.
residuals.
But yeah, no, we did like flashbacks, and then I think what I heard the issue was that we weren't young enough. We weren't appealing to the young crowd that watched the BBC. We were like too old, and I was like, I don't really buy that. But
What, this was toward the end of Castle?
yeah, that's what I remember.
That's nonsense. Oh,
Ray
God, yeah.
saying to me, the Beeb wants it younger. He wants it aimed. He wants to pitch it younger.
Yeah.
So, and obviously Danny's house, they had the aliens. So it was like,
Hmm.
what could we do in a castle? Nice.
Right, so it was more that thing of like, we need to find a thing. Kids like mice. What?
Or kids just like big costumes
Yes.
that don't make any sense.
Television logic, folks, is nonsense.
Yeah.
And doesn't make any sense at all. Which can be to your benefit sometimes if you're the one in charge of the nonsense. When was your first call for the CBBC office? Was it a cover shift first?
It was to do with Danny's castle. So I was already on Friday Download.
I'm sure I had you during a Chris and Dodge thing. I'm sure we had you as a guest for a couple of like pre-record links at some point.
Probably. I remember my first one, though, was
I think-
with Ian and Hacker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because they would have been prime time at that point.
Yeah,
They were the
so I
afternoons.
did a guest. We did a guest slot in the afternoon with them, which was like basically to promote the start of Danny's Castle. They kind of got me in.
Here's
But
this
actually,
thing. Look at it.
I think what happened before that though is I think I had my sort of screen test for it before. So basically,
Oh, so they'd already like said, "Hey, you get
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
Like, show us what you got."
Yeah, they got
But
me
in this green room, not a green room.
Well, no, I did it in the studio.
Oh yeah, well it was semi-green room.
Yeah, but I did it with,
Green trim.
I did it with Dodge. I did it with
Okay.
Warwick, and Warwick
Yeah.
still like tells me now to this day, like I laugh about it with him because they made him stay behind, and he was absolutely fuming. He was like, "Who is this idiot that they're getting in and making me stick around after my shift?" You know, he's done like the full late afternoon, and they're like getting him to stay and do like a screen test basically with me, and he's probably thinking, "What the hell
What
is she
is going
doing here?"
on? Like, why? I'm
Yeah.
not paid the extra for doing this. What's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was, and I think he told me that since. But yes, so I did my screen test with Dodge. Thought it went okay. And I was like, I'll just see what happens. You know, Annie really liked me. He was like, you know, in charge of the...
Annie Dixon, who was one of the execs, who's across CBeebies, but also casting within CBBC.
Yeah. So she really liked me. And then it kind of went a bit quiet for a while. And I thought, I guess, that's not, you know, coming back kind of thing. And then when I was doing Danny's Castle, to promote it, they were like, we want to get you in and to do like a guest afternoon with Ian and Hacker, and you'll do like a couple of sketches, a few send-ins, answer some questions, and then you'll do the Milky Brew challenge at the end.
Oh yeah, that was a thing at that point.
Yeah, so I did the Milky Brew challenge, which was just I was like, I'm going to absolutely smash this. And can I just say, the water's cold. So how are you supposed to make a brew with cold water?
Yeah, health and safety gone nuts.
Isn't it? Yeah. And then I spilled it anyway. Or Ian spilled it.
Straight up, it's because of risk assessments. It's like, we can't have boiling, we can't have scalding water. Can we at least have warm water? Yeah. Warm water?
No.
Just warm water, you know.
It was literally cold. And then, but I had such a good time, and I was like, God, that's so much fun. And then I did it with Ian and Hacker once, and then I did a guest slot with Sam and Mark.
Yeah, they did a cover run, I think.
Yeah, and so I was in with them for one, and then I did another guest with Dick and Dom, I think.
Yeah, oh, right, so this would have been...
I think.
This would have been... I think this would have been summer 2013. That sounds about right, yeah.
It could have been.
So in summer 2013.
We shot the first day of Danny's Castle, summer 2012.
Yes, yeah, so it would have been early summer to midsummer 2013 because I had just started with Ian and Hacker, but I think I did... yeah, it would either have been Dennis or All Over the Place, so I wasn't there a lot.
Yeah.
So I was the afternoons at this point, but there was some times where I would disappear for a few days. And I remember Sam and Mark did some covers, and I think Dick and Dom did like a week at one point, where they did like a whole week's worth or something like that.
Yeah, possibly. I'm sure...
That might have been the Dick, Dom and Dodge week, actually.
Maybe.
Or one of the Dick, Dom and Dodge weeks.
Unless I've made that up, but I feel like I did. I definitely did it with Ian and Hacker and Sam and Mark, then I think I did a third slot, but I can't remember.
We must have done just maybe some sketches for the weekend then. Like, you might have been in for Ian and Hacker, and me and Warwick, like, bagged a sketch or something for the weekend.
Yeah.
I remember I think I first met you in HQ5. And in some weird circumstance on a green screen, I think. Probably.
Yeah, probably.
That makes sense.
We
That
did
sounds
so
about
many
right.
weird green screen stuff
sounds
together.
about right.
Also, can I just flag up? So I was saying to you before that I listened to Katie's episode, her podcast, right? Yeah. And I also want to say, when you were talking about Sir Johnson pellets, I was in that day. That was mine and yours sketch.
Yeah, you were in the first one.
So what they're talking about, Hacker and Chris, it was me and you that did Sir Johnson pellets because we did a random sketch of you in a jungle somewhere.
You're right, that was his very first one.
And you had the moustache.
That was his very first one.
And you said pellets.
Because Harriet, who was wonderful on props, she brought over that moustache. She was like, I'm just trying to think how we could... And I was like, just string it onto the binoculars.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd say that, because she's that kind of level of zany.
Yeah.
Immediately fishing wire. Boom. Yeah, no, that was the first time we did it.
So can I just say, I was there at the birth of Sir Johnson pellets, and I feel like I wasn't even involved in that, like... memory that you were reminiscing about.
That's the sending controversy.
Yeah, yes. I was there when he was birthed. In fact, I birthed him with my own hands.
Wait, what? We're bad at maths and science, apparently.
When Sir Johnson Pellets was born.
You've been privy to a lot of my weirder characters.
Yeah.
Long before we did Shout Out Saturday together, we did several afternoons as well, once everything was in the swing.
We did loads.
And I was the PM guy.
Yeah.
We did a lot of afternoons, and there's one feature which I'll bring up later, because I know there's a question about it. And... it's great because we're not the only weirdos who remember it.
Yeah.
So thank you, listeners. Become a patron if you aren't already. So join the Discord. There's God. There is some weird. I want to say a rude word, but I'm not going to. There's some weird, especially like when we teamed up, and I think a lot of that was down to people like Andy Potter and Steve Collins going, right, this afternoon, Chris isn't with the talking dog; he's with another human being.
Yeah. So
how do we make it weird for Chris and Shannon?
Yeah.
So you were privy to Rancid Frank, which was
I
weird
love
little
Rancid
skit.
Frank.
So for those who don't know,
Frank have that song?
Rancid Frank, he's one of those brilliant characters that only ever happened like 4 times.
Loved it.
But so Rancid Frank was this. We just cut to a new show called Rancid Frank, and it was this. The gag was it was a theme song that was about a minute long.
Yeah.
over a title sequence of just me dressed in like a perm wig, a dirty Mac, a scarf, and some like round spectacles. I think that was the costume.
Yeah,
there might have been a little hat on the wig.
I think there was.
And I just would slowly go through shot on a sky background, and the song was Rancid Frank, what's in your sandwich?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it egg or cheese or jam with some other filling you demanded? Rancid Frank, what's in your sandwich? Which is like, what? And then it just
he goes...
They go, ham?
Rancid Frank,
that was your sandwich. And, the gag was just obviously giant title sequences.
Was that not Mark Barton?
It might have been a Barton special,
I think
actually.
it was a Marky Barts, definitely.
Marky Chief Inspector Onion Barton.
Chief Inspector Onion. And in fact,
I nearly got to keep that head.
Did
but then they
you?
needed it for a scare. It was after I left afternoons. They were like, you can have it if you want. I went, I don't know where it'll go in the house, but I'll take it. And they're like, actually, we need it. And then I never saw it again.
Oh, that's so sad.
Although I did get to keep, in that box there is Sir Alan Lipes, the ventriloquist doll mouth.
I don't think I never met him.
I'll show you.
Maybe we
afterwards.
could be introduced later.
It's horrifying.
Oh, really?
It's a ventriloquist doll mouth. Going back to ventriloquist dolls. These
I'll be
strapped to your
haunted
face.
forever, won't I? But do you
we
remember...
had an afternoon together.
Yeah.
And you got to wear the Dirty Mac.
Did I?
And
and I did Rancid
Francesca.
Oh, I thought it was Francine.
Which was I think it was Rancid Francesca.
Yeah, but it was Rancid Francesca.
Because I remember trying to fit it into the song. Rancid Francesca, what's in your... it was like, what's in your handbag? Or something like that. It was like, it's a tube. Or something like that.
I loved it.
Mental stuff.
I need to watch that again.
Yeah, oh, God. Talking of weird items you were there for the beginning of.
Yeah.
You were, if I remember correctly, the christening presenter for Bank Holiday Benny. Now,
I don't want to talk about him.
He's also in the house.
He absolutely
he's in a bag in a drawer upstairs.
Thank God for that. Where he belongs.
For those who don't know, we came up with a skit, me and Andy Potter, about the patron saint of bank holidays. Like, let's have Father Christmas for bank holidays.
Yeah, we always did Bank Holiday Monday together, didn't we? It was like who wants the bank holiday? Like, no one.
Like,
okay, Chris and
who lives
Shannon.
local? Chris and Shannon, in you come.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And God, I was like, that was always my curse. You live nearby, great. Do you want to do Boxing Day morning?
Yeah.
Sure.
No.
They don't do Christmas now. They
not.
pre-record well in advance, and everyone goes off on like the 19th, and then they come back on like the 28th for a few days.
And
Sometimes,
then
they
off
go back
again.
in New Year.
Ah.
It's like, what? I remember my first year, I did Christmas Eve.
Really?
Yeah, because I was getting a ride to London that night, like from London to Manchester. Whereas obviously Ian was travelling back to Edinburgh, so he needed to go sooner.
Yeah.
So it was me. It was Muggins.
It was you.
Doing the Christmas Eve shift. But yeah, we created this guy. We decided for some reason that he should be trying to hawk his wares because he's such a little known character that he's just trying to sell his stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, here it is, bank holiday stuff. Okay. And for some reason we'd been quoting Glengarry Glen Ross around that time a lot.
Yeah.
Specifically like Pacino's character. Where did you learn your trade?
Yeah.
And then that coupled with a random Jontron quote that I kept shouting at Lucy, it just became this businessman.
Yeah.
'Cause I think they wanted to do it like, what was the Peter Serafinowicz character called? Brian Butterfield. Hello, there's the businessman, he had the big prosthetic chin, he was very fat.
Right.
It was like a Christmas pizza. It's what we eat at Christmas with bonbons, mini mince pies. mini mince pies. It's just a weird character, just this business guy with a cheapo business. Yeah. And they wanted to do something like that. I thought, it can't be the same.
No.
So it just became this bolshy American guy.
Yeah.
With a long tie, a blazer that's always open, and stupid hair. Because we all know that no one could ever get behind an American who looks like or sounds like that.
No.
Oh, wait.
Why would you ever?
Oh, God. But yeah, that was, for me, that was a lot of fun. Because we were scripting it, but then we realised it was funnier to just not stick to the script for him and just improvise this guy who won't go away.
And I think at first for me, it started off as like, okay, well, Shannon, because Chris is going to be so outrageous.
Which I've never really been able to do before. So it's like, he's having a moment.
He's having a moment. But it's like, Chris is going to be so outrageous and just do whatever that you play the straight guy. So I'm like, cool, that's fine. And that's how it started. But then actually, after like a few links, I was like, I actually feel very annoyed. Like, I literally hate him. Like, why is he still talking? And then it just became, it wasn't even like a joke that like, oh, Shannon's playing it down because like, you know, Chris is going to be really out there. It was literally like, why won't Bank Holiday Benny shut up? He's literally pecking my head. He's the stuff of nightmares, guy.
I'll take that as a performer. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, you did it well. You did it justice, let me tell you. But
I tend to peck head anyway. But I think giving me a drawn-on mustache.
But I loved every other character that we did. Every other character that you did. But something about Bank Holiday Benny just like really grinds my gears. Like he rubs me up the wrong way.
I think it's because he's genuinely sleazy. The other characters are like cartoon madcap, like, you know, your Judge Johnsons and that. They're just sort of loud and zany.
Yeah.
Whereas Bank Holiday Benny, you do kind of feel like he's hanging around. And you sort of want him to leave.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you here? Because that was the first plot, wasn't it? Like 2 links in, he was like, right, I've done my Bank Holiday stuff. Can I stay here now? It's like, oh, there's no many places to be. Well, no one else really celebrates Bank Holiday, so I guess I'll stay
we'll
here.
Just be here then.
So yeah, I think he's technically your arch nemesis.
I'd say so.
But he doesn't know it. He thinks you're best mates.
I wish he did.
He sends you Bank Holiday messages.
He does all the time. He's still trying to be in my life, and I've just had enough. If you're listening, Benny, don't stop contacting me.
You freak. Leave me alone. Especially on bank holidays.
Especially, I dread it now. Everybody else is looking forward to bank holiday, and I'm like, not me. Here he is. It's a bit like Michael Bublé at Christmas. You know, like, you don't hear from him all year, and then all of a sudden...
just rocks
there
up.
He is. Like,
oh, here you are.
Bloody Bublé.
There you are again, singing slightly off kilter.
Yeah.
Singing out of the off bar, just to keep it...
He is. He's
keep
like,
it different.
He's like the Bublé, isn't he? Like,
I'm dreaming.
He's the Bublé of bank holiday.
White Christmas. Bublé, bring it back. Come on. Go away, Bublé.
Where were you in, like, April? What were you doing then?
Lanzarote, living off of his Christmas earnings.
Probably, yeah.
Sunning himself.
Maybe that's what Benny's doing.
No, he's definitely upstairs.
Yeah.
And you know, if I didn't have some plans for that character, because I do have a bit of a plan for something to do with him that I wanted to do for a while, I'm not even kidding. Because of Donald Trump, I've held off. Because there is a little bit of a visual similarity.
Yeah.
So I've sort of held off. But I think I've got a feeling pretty soon there might be a bit of a vacancy for characters like that that won't upset people too much.
Fingers crossed.
But if I didn't have plans for him, I would... our video content this month would be me letting you burn the wig.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that'd be a fire hazard because the amount of hairspray in that thing...
Just so much.
It's horrific in a way.
So much. And so many lost dreams are in that wig.
Stolen nightmares.
So sad. Yeah.
Slapping the dummies in that wig.
I bet he is.
He's waiting.
He's just like lurking.
He's waiting. You're my slave!
Oh,
go away! You
God.
creepy bugger.
Yeah, I hate Benny. Sorry, but I just do.
More than Slappy?
Yes. Because Slappy's left me alone. He's not bothered me since that day, but like Benny just keeps rearing his ugly head every
He's still
time.
there, the bugger.
And there's so many bank holidays in a year.
So Shout Out Saturday was it was an odd time for me because I was meant to leave presentation. I'd said I was leaving. I'd sort of felt like I would get to the point within the next year where I would stagnate for people.
Yeah.
And I knew there was a change on the horizon. They were going to be less double acts, less comedy, and more kind of magazine-y. And I was never brought in for that initially.
Yeah.
So I announced I was leaving. And then very last minute they went, we're doing a second season of Shout Out Saturday. We kind of know we want someone who we know can do like every shift for a certain duration, and that we don't have to sort of train up.
Yeah.
Would you do it? I was like, I mean, we're literally about to say that I'm leaving. How do we reword it? We'll just say that you're getting a new job.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. So I left Lives and did Shout Out Saturday. I did it for a bit with Kel. I did it for a bit with Ben, and then they settled on you and me, and we became that. Like we were the slot. Like that was us. Right down to even getting a photo shoot at one point. I always found Shout Out Saturday to be a weird mix of highs and lows for various reasons. But the one thing that kept it entertaining for me, honestly, was working with you.
Yeah.
Because there was that vibe that we were both very much in the same mental boat.
Yeah.
So as soon as we'd rock up, it's like doing the 4 a.m. open shift for a McDonald's.
Totally.
Bringing it all back.
Totally.
Like, you get in. You're shattered. You all wish you don't necessarily had to be there at that time.
Yeah.
You get on with it, but then you remember halfway through, oh yeah, the workday finishes at 11.
Yeah.
So I think eventually we kind of just brought that vibe to the links. That was kind of our attitude, was like, we're here to have a laugh with you lot, but after this we're going to bed.
Yeah.
So let's have fun. I think we've joked about what are you doing after this?
Probably, yeah. Literally going back to bed, yeah. No, yeah, I think we did when we used to do the end credit when it was the Shout Out Saturday, because we used to talk over the last bit, didn't we? Yeah, I'm sure there was always what are you doing after this? Going home. Can I come? No. It was always something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna get some breakfast actually. Oh, room for a little one? No. Oh, sorry, no, it's a restaurant on Mars. Oh.
Yeah, it was always that tone, wasn't it? I feel like that was mine and yours thing now, that it was I
think we got told to stop doing that at one point. We were like,
yeah,
no,
less of that.
It's funny. I like the idea. They're always worried about it ending on a low. And I'm like, I think that's hilarious.
It is
Are you kidding me?
It's a bit satire, isn't
I
it?
had a really good time, and then it all goes to pot. And I was, but honestly, I'm not just saying this to toot your horn because we're on mic, Your Honour. But working, I mean, the team were lovely, but there was always this element of, because it was never a permanent team.
No,
it was just nice working with that team.
Yeah,
when the people who came in and out, but we were sort of the only two constants.
Yeah,
and as a result, it was like you were my support network on Saturdays. I was like, oh, thank God. It's like when the few, there was only a couple of occasions where you couldn't do it, where I did.
Yeah,
after that
and
stretch.
vice versa. I think
and
I did a few
really
with Phil.
Yeah, I think you did one with Katie at some point. I think that was when I went.
Really?
That was toward the end of my run, I think. Yeah, because I might have had a. Oh no. Yeah, no, because I was doing panto at one point between a couple. I'm completely making up a new history. But at one point I got to write for it as well, which was interesting. I did some behind the scenes work on Whoops, and then I wrote links for Shout Out Saturday for a bit. And I don't mind saying this on mic now because it's too late and no one can tell us off. So do you remember that there was one higher up within the department who was always a little bit weird with jokes, and they wouldn't sign off my script. I'm not sure about that. Could you maybe change that? But it was stuff that obviously me being there for 5+ years at this point, I was like, no, I know that this is fine. So eventually I cottoned on that if I sent the jokes in and that person had to sign it off, I would have to drop the joke.
Yeah.
So do you remember there's a few occasions where I just said, right, remind me on Saturday morning about page 10. Mm-hmm. Or remember this word and just tell me on Saturday morning. Yeah. And I wouldn't put the joke in the script.
Yeah.
And then I'd give the script in and get signed off, and I'd be like, right, so
here's what we're doing.
Here's what
we're really doing.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. We should do that. And technically that's cheeky because it was material going out on Live Kids TV that hadn't been signed off on. But for all anyone knew, it was improv.
And also, who was even watching that? Seriously, people that were working, people really high up, not a chance were they getting up and watching that.
They weren't watching it.
And especially
they weren't watching it back.
Towards the end as well, it did feel a bit like not one person could be bothered with writing it, putting it together. It was like, we should do it.
I'm glad that the actual run of SOS ended on a nice high. That last Saturday was a really nice kind of.
Well, it felt like people were actually bothered about it. They were like, right, we're going to actually do something. We had
that weird thing as well, where it was like the penultimate one. There was a gap. There was something going on, which meant there wasn't a Shout Out Saturday the week before the last one.
Right.
And we were like, right, well, can we, in the second to last one, can we acknowledge that we're back in 2 weeks with the last Shout Out Saturday? Can we acknowledge that? Mm-hmm. And we were told we weren't allowed to, because it was that whole downer ending thing. They didn't want people to be like, oh, we can do it on the day. And I remember in the last link, we just made a big point of being like, this is the last time me and Shannon are leaving the office. We're going now. This is our last one. Hello, goodbye. See it, and really over-egging the pudding to be like, do you get it now? Do you get it, viewers?
But why would you not though? Because we've done it for so long. Why would you just leave and then everyone be like, "Oh, where did they go?"
I think they worry about people in certain positions worry about the viewers' feelings, which of course you should do to a point. You should obviously be catering to your audience, and it's a young audience. You have a lot of responsibility. Mm-hmm. But a big part of life is people leaving, moving on, going to new places, and I think it's odd to shield from that.
Yeah,
I was quite lucky that there was a bit of a vibe around my last week doing the afternoons, which at that point I thought was just my last week.
Yeah,
and I remember I had to kind of hijack the planning and be like, with the afternoon team, we had to sort of go, right, we're going to make a thing of it, because I'm going. I don't just want to say bye, and it wasn't necessarily like an ego thing of, I'm leaving, everyone celebrate me, but more just that no, let's make a thing of it. We don't really do stories over the course of days anymore. So on Monday, let's reveal that I'm leaving on Friday. Yeah. And then each day we'll have a themed thing around that. Mm. So that way, we're acknowledging, he's going. but you're softening the
But it's
blow
like
a
a
bit because everyone's
celebration,
prepared,
yeah.
And you can, like, hey everyone, this is the last week of Chris and Hacker, so let's actually acknowledge that and do something about it and have a good time.
Endings are really important.
So for all the furor and oddness around how Shout Saturday wrapped up, I do think that last Saturday was really nice, and it was sort of like
It was.
I remember Twitter was like really like very conversational with us that morning. There was so many people going like, I can't actually believe this is the last one. This is really weird. We watch every week, and I'm like, oh my god! Like people who had not really said anything came out of the woodworks, be like, is it ending? It was like and it was nice. We sort of had like a mini leaving dinner. Went and had quesadillas or something. I can't remember.
Did we go? Did we not go to? Oh, we went to Look Lost, didn't we?
In Northern Quarter.
Yeah.
And had far too many drinks for human beings to consume.
Yeah, I mean,
on a Saturday afternoon at like 2 p.m. But we've been up since 5.
I definitely overdid it that day, but I had a really nice time. And I mean, I did want a bit of a celebration of me leaving because I thought, I've not been here full time because I was off doing shows and stuff, but I have done 4 years of it, which is a big part of my life, and I've made really good friends here. I wanted a leaving thing. I wanted everyone to be like,
you hosted Blackpool.
She's going.
The biggest live, the biggest live audience for one of the outside broadcasting things up to that point that we had in years. Like we had over the course of that morning, over 9,000 people checked in.
I know, I forget that we did
That's
that.
mental, that, isn't it? Like over 9,000 people. Like some obviously stayed throughout the entire thing. Which I'm like, bless you guys, because those events things, they never plan for you guys between the shows.
Yeah.
And I always feel so bad. Although on that one we had the incomparable Barney Harwood.
We do games with them and stuff. Yeah.
But like you presented that. Like you presented that morning.
Yeah.
That's there are milestones in that stretch, and I guarantee people listening to this episode are going like, like Shout Out Saturday was my jam, or Shout Out Saturday was my Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And there's definitely been a lot of love for it. Since I announced the other day on the Discord, there's been a lot of love. Like, oh my god, I watch it all the time. Like, oh my god, you two are great. And oh my god, Judge Johnson. No, never do that again.
Which I'm quite surprised about though, because I genuinely did feel from the side of, the office, as in actually the production side of things, I don't feel like Shout Out Saturday was celebrated massively. It felt like a bit of a
placeholder.
Yeah,
really. I feel it was a placeholder, and I feel it was a neat, especially the first series. This was before us too.
Yeah,
it was a knee-jerk response to the distinguished competition starting a new Saturday morning show.
Yeah,
I think it was even put together in a week.
Yeah,
the first series. It was just like, right, we're doing it. Kel, Phil, you booked. In you go. I was like, oh, okay. Why are you doing it that way? Oh, there's a thing that's title has something to do with eggs on the other side. Okay, that's interesting.
I think I did do a few guest slots for the first series as well.
On that
sort
first
of covering,
run.
for like Kel if he wasn't in, or for Phil, to be fair.
Yeah. Never be fair to Phil. Never be fair to Phil.
Doesn't deserve it.
He's not earned it. Now, there's a bunch of the stuff I'd love to talk about, but you have to save something for a sequel. So
True.
I'm going to chat briefly before we go into the questions. I'm going to chat briefly. We have something in common, which, because of having it in common, we've never had the freedom to actually see each other do it.
Yeah.
Which is pantomime. You had your first go at Panto 2017? Is that right? Was it 2016, 2017?
No, funnily enough, I've done it before.
What?
But not...
How dare you?
not as a name.
Which again is a really sort of... It's a small club, really. It's a weird, unique position.
Isn't it? But
to be in, where you're like, oh, I'm part of the marketing.
Yeah.
I better not be terrible.
Like,
oh my god.
People care? Like, what? But no, I'd done it before.
We're the gateway for kids to get into theatre. There you go.
Yeah, totally.
It's a noble profession.
Totally.
Kids go, that's that person from that thing, and they come and watch it, and then they go, that was cool, could we go to the theatre again?
Yeah, and I do think Panto's really important.
So we should get more money, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I think it is, like you say, it's a gateway, isn't it? And it's a lot of children's first experience of live theatre. And I think it has a bit of a bad rep, but actually it's really important, and I think it keeps a lot of sort of regional theatres going a lot of the time. If they haven't got loads of stuff on, if it's not a massive like West End production.
Oh, absolutely. The smaller theatres is their main profit in the year. And if they, sorry, my cat just fell off a cushion in the corridor.
What?
Oh no, she didn't. She did,
she
definitely did.
I heard it.
But like smaller theatres, that's their main profit really throughout the year, either working with a production company and negotiating a good cut, or producing in house.
Yeah,
and that's their big thing. So it's it's a beneficial thing for getting kids into theatre. It's beneficial for keeping theatres going and getting them on the radar, which then, of course, gets them more bookings if things go well.
Exactly.
You know.
But I'd done it before.
It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. I did it before, though, when I was about 8. When I was going to this drama class, like I was saying before, just like my local theatre group. The guy that ran it, that got me on with my agent, he also used to put on the local pantomime in Rochdale, like the Gracie Fields Theatre.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, he used to put it on every year. He always played the dame, and he basically offered me that part because we did Babes in the Wood, which I actually feel like you can't do Babes in the Wood anymore. I think it's been...
People still do. They combine it with Robin Hood, usually.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. I'm doing plug, ntlincoln.co.uk. I'm doing Robin Hood this year in Lincoln, and they have completely omitted any Babes in the Wood influence from it.
Have they? Right.
They've gone like...
It's all
their raison d'etre was like, so we're doing Robin Hood, but none of that Babes in the Wood nonsense. We're basically going Prince of Thieves route. It's like, okay, sure.
It's a bit dodge, isn't it?
It's an odd one.
For different reasons, but... Basically,
come to pantomime, kids, and watch a bunch of children possibly get their throats slit.
Yeah,
it is a bit scary.
It's a bit touch and go, but I did do it when
kids versus evil people do Peter Pan.
Yeah, I was one of the babes in Babes in the Wood. Basically, she was called Jill. It was Jack and Jill who were the babes.
Yeah.
So that was like, and I had my first little like solo performance, my first like song and everything, and it was good fun. I loved it, and that was just. Like, I think my granddad came to watch it at the time. Like, he passed away when I was, like, 10, so say I was about 8. He came to watch it, and he said to my dad afterwards, like, that's it. She's made it. This is it now. Hollywood is next. After I'd done, like, the pantomime in Rochdale, my granddad was just like, that's it. We're on to the big time.
Sounds awfully familiar.
But,
Granddads are the best cheerleaders.
I know,
officially.
but it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And then I hadn't done panto again since then. So then when I did it, I think it was 2017 maybe?
I think so. What was it? No, hang on. Was there a Christmas between?
16, I bet it was.
16, yeah. Because I remember it was quite a last minute kind of change, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because we were chatting about it. You were like, I think I'm doing panto. Like, I'm debating about it. And at this point, I was in dress rehearsal for hours. I was like, God, that's a late casting.
Yeah,
it was a short run though, wasn't it?
It was a short run.
Like a sort of 15-day sort of.
It was basically that. I think they originally were going to have, I think she's called Katie from X Factor, I can't remember her last name. She was going to be in it, but anyway, long story short.
Vassell?
Yeah.
Wassel?
Wait, Vassell?
Wesley.
Wassel.
Katie W. Oh, Katie W's.
Katie W. She was supposed to be in it, and then it all fell through with her. So then my agent got the call, like, does Shannon want to do it? And I think I was actually doing a radio play at the time in London when I got the call. And I got the call sort of November. And obviously now I know that they cast like pantomime sort of early summer,
some go last minute. You on Spotlight currently?
Yeah.
Right, check your inbox because you'll notice there's a billion places going like, we need like a Jill. Oh my God, we need a Maid Marian. So they do, like, bloody hell. But usually the protocol is like July is like the latest bit of casting.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of overspill in case of something going wrong.
Of course.
But yeah, so that was the last minute because I remember you saying like, I think I'm doing this.
Yeah, well, I was in London. I remember I was in Yo Sushi at the time, having my dinner on my own.
That's all they have in London.
Yeah,
it's all just Yo
Sushi.
The streets are paved with Yo Sushi.
Yeah. And it was like...
It
was November. I remember it being November. It could have been like early November, but still, that's really late considering that we were probably starting rehearsals a couple of weeks later.
Yeah.
And I remember getting the call from my agent, like, they want you to do it, you're available, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything over Christmas, so why not?
Book me the heck in.
Yeah, and then it was like, so when are we starting? And they were like, 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, no worries. And how long's a rehearsal? A week.
Yeah.
A week of rehearsals. And then I think 3 or 4 weeks run.
That's pretty...
Standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The longest period for rehearsal I've had for a panto has been 11 days.
Right.
And that's with a day off during that.
I think for this year I'm getting...
and that was just because the choreographer, the director wasn't available for like the first 4 days, because of another project that they weren't released from yet. So the choreographer just worked with us for the first 4.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, what's happening?
It is super quick, isn't it? It's a lot quicker than you think it is. Considering the kind of, production that you end up putting
2 hour,
on.
15-minute show usually on average. Like,
yeah, and it's a musical. It's a musical at the end of the day.
It's a big bugger.
Songs, dance, costume changes, set changes. It's everything. It's massive.
Cricket club jokes occasionally.
Yeah.
So it's.
And you do like a week or something of rehearsals. I think sort of like last year I did think we did just short of 2 weeks rehearsals, so that felt more relaxed almost.
Often
but it was
often you have one day to tech.
Yeah.
And then you're in.
Well, we had 2, I think.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Because it was so massive. But
Luxury!
It was at the
Luxury!
With it being at the Manchester Opera House.
Of course, because Cinderella.
Yes, it was massive. It was massive.
I mean, I was so miffed to not see that.
Yeah.
But I also, I was like, I'm also working, so I'm okay. I'm kind of okay. Because I too was doing Snow White.
Yeah.
In Lincoln. But when I heard about that, I remember a texture was like, bloody hell, well done.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I went for the meeting in probably it was about June, July time in London. And I just thought, I'll just go do my best, see what happens.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Like, we're doing it in Manchester, come to London.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Go again.
So I went and I had the meeting and, they asked me to sing and I did a bit of a scene. And then other than that...
Then said, calm down, we want you to read.
Well, yeah. I just ran in and was like, hello!
Straight out the womb, jazz hands.
Yeah. But yeah, so I kind of had the meeting and stuff, and then before I'd got back on the train home, they'd already called my agent to offer it me.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, I think I rang my mum.
Celebratory Burger King?
Well, yeah, I rang my mum, but couldn't really talk because I was on the train. So I was like, hi, I can't really talk, but I just wanted to let you know that they've offered it me, but I'm just getting on the train back now, so I'll see you in a couple of hours. Yeah. And she was like, oh, brilliant, really excited. My mum was absolutely thrilled. For me to be the name character.
Title role.
Yeah.
At one of Manchester's 2 massive theatres.
Exactly. And it's my home, isn't it? I know I'm Rochdale, but Manchester is my home.
It's the theatre capital of the Northwest.
Exactly.
Liverpool is currently writing angry comments at me, but...
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on, guys. We're all Northern.
Come on,
we're all Northern. Let's be nice.
We're on the same team.
Yeah. My mum was literally thrilled. And I was, super excited, but also just really nervous because I just thought, I feel like there's almost, more of an expectation of me to be amazing because it's going to be so big. And,
It's the Disney princess effect.
Yeah.
That is what you've... But distinctly not Disney, if anyone legal is listening. Distinctly not Disney.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of vibe, isn't it?
But
the same
funny.
sort of level of, ooh, this is what I'm representing.
Yeah. But it's funny because that's kind of not me. I'm just not that kind of person. I do more of the comedy.
I've never seen you talking to mice. I've seen you as a talking mouse.
Yeah, that's true. I'm talking to the voices in my head, but not the mice that are in my cellar. But yeah, it was that kind of just wasn't me. I kind of do more of the comedy, or if I've ever played the princess before, it's always been
yeah,
she's a princess, but she's up for a laugh.
Yeah, in Panto there is an unfortunate archetype in a lot that use template scripts and stuff that the prince or the princess at the centre of the story can be kind of a thankless task in some ways because they just they make them you are completely just appealing to the girls who buy princess dolls and that is what your role is
and you're super bland.
Okay, were you blessed script wise in this one where they sort of no, we're going to give you some more to work with here. Or was it improv in the rehearsal period kind of?
No, it was really, really rigid, to be honest. Which is fine. It wasn't necessarily an issue.
It's a function, but it's just a bit of a shame when
you've
got other things in your arsenal. You're like,
totally. But it was because Les Dennis was in it, and then also Ben Nicholas, who was playing Buttons.
Yeah.
They had put a lot of their own material into the scripts as well. So it was there wasn't any more room for funny.
Yeah, that can happen. That's why sort of in traditional structure there's one comic and one dame. You've got 2 that manage that tone.
Yeah.
And then the rest can flow. But obviously some pantos put in a lot of comics, or the villain will take on a comic sensibility.
Yeah.
Or the dame will sort of have the same level of so that's you then have to sort of balance it. So it becomes a duty really.
Totally.
In a way. Yeah.
And I think it was a little bit disheartening in the sense that I thought, but I am the princess, but also a bit cheeky, can have a bit of banter. There's more for me to give in this role.
Yeah, than sort of is the leeway is allowing.
Than just waiting for the prince to turn up. But essentially, sometimes I think you have to remember that is what she's for. That is what the princess is about. That is what the prince is about.
The traditional core is one thing.
And somebody's got to drive the story. If everybody's cracking jokes left, right and centre, then you don't have a story. You've got a comedy show. Do you know what I mean?
It's just variety.
It's a variety,
the Palladium,
Exactly. So I think, and just with Les and and Connor doing all of their comedy, and then Ben Nicholas bringing all of his comedy into it.
Oh, Benny N.
Oh, Benny N, Neddy B, whatever. Him doing all of his own sketches, because he does his own variety show as well, so he had all of his own material anyway.
Incorporate in.
Yeah, that he writes in. So he has all of his own sketches. Like he had like a bit about Ed Sheeran, he had an Ed Sheeran bit, he had a record bit. He had there was loads. So kind of the only comedy I got to get involved with was The Wall.
Yes, I've seen photos of that. So like that obviously popped beyond the show because I could picture that.
Yeah,
the two of you sat on the thing.
Yeah. Because they did press shots for it.
Ah, right.
And I think there were a couple of shots of like me and Gareth on the wall, and Ben like sticking his head through the wall underneath through my legs. If you can picture that. So it kind of made it to the press shots, but yeah. So it was kind of, I enjoyed those moments. But then at the end of the day, you've got to remember, like, yeah, the prince and the princess drive the story. They do the straight talking stuff, but it's me in the carriage that sends the kids away being like, oh, I want to be Cinderella. Yeah. So you know, you do get those really like amazing moments.
I'm slightly biased though, because I under pseudonym I wrote a panto that I was in last year.
Yeah.
And in that one I was like, Snow White doesn't have much agency. I'm going to give Snow White some agency. Yeah. And I just like, and so much of it stayed in the version that ended up on stage. I was like, yes, get in.
I just think it's nice. It's more modern. I almost feel like having... And
how was Snow White proposed to have a love interest? She proposed. And the relationship was teased throughout that it was like, you two should totally be a thing. Why are you not a thing? It was like, come on, just ask. It never happened. So when the True Love's Kiss kind of happens, it doesn't feel as like, are you kissing that corpse? Are you kissing a corpse? What's happening? So she doesn't want to be kissed.
No, like, she doesn't.
We've kind of said it, and then she proposes.
Which is nice. I do just think it's like, it's more modern to be that way. Because I think it's sort of, it's really old fashioned to have like the princess like, I'm just going to sit around here and wait for the prince to come and save me. And my life is a mess without a man. Like, I just hate it. It's just not
There's
life.
something to be said for the archetype and the structure of the old stories and why they've endured for centuries.
Of course.
But, like, come on. Like, things are about adapting it.
Let's have a bit of girl power. Take me back to the 90s.
Yeah, let's get the Spice Girls involved.
Yeah.
Do you know what you need to do? I think you need to play a panto villain.
I do, but I don't think I'm old enough. I'm too princessy. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I don't know. See, I could see you giving a sheriff of Nottingham, for example. I can see you giving a sheriff of Nottingham because the sheriff of Nottingham is sort of like there's certain complexes and frustrations. So the fact that you are quite petite and stuff, you could play into that. You could be facing off against a Robin who's probably taller than you.
Yeah.
So you sort of little kind of things like that.
I would love that.
Also, the sheriff as female is something that needs to just start happening. I think that's a good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good shift anyway.
100%.
Robin Hood is a sausage.
Yeah.
As we're saying, come see me in Robin Hood this Christmas.
If you like sausage.
If you like sausage and you like festivals. Do you know what else people like?
Questions.
Got some questions from the lovely patrons. If you're not a patron yet, details at the beginning, you heard them. But
is the first question, is your pet Shannon or a yen?
Right,
because if it isn't, I'll be disgusted.
So, Aoife, hello Aoife. Aoife says, what was your favourite segment in the CBBC office? Mine was... Is your pet a Shannon or a Yent? Just something about seeing if animals look like you or Chris.
Do you know what? The first time we did Is Your Pet a Shannon or a Yent, dreams came true that day. I honestly had the best time. So for me, to answer that question, it would be a tie between Is Your Pet a Shannon or a Yen, because it was so ludicrous that we would get kids to send in pictures of their pets, and then me and you would do an impression of the pet, but with no props or anything. It would just be a close-up of our faces.
It's on the screen.
Pulling some sort of pose, and then being like...
Maybe handed an ear or something at one point, like a little pair of ears or something last second.
I don't even think we had that. I genuinely... What it literally was just like me and you pulling a weird face, and then being like, definitely me. Acting, darling. Acting
of a storm.
So I would say...
It was weird, that one. I remember just reading that script that day, we were just like, how the hell is this going to work? And it was sort of like a... It was because we had to tie into something like pet school or something. So they're like, we'll do this. It was like, this is stupid. And then we had so much fun.
We did.
Absorbing how mental it was that we went, Okay, can we put that in like a save for later thing? And I think we did it at least 3 more times.
I think we did.
Even on days that had nothing to do with a pet show.
I think we did it twice, and then we also did a little segment of it on our last Shout Out Saturday.
That was
we
the
did
one.
a little bit of like reprised it for the final day.
They brought it back.
So I would say either as your pet Shannon or Ian, or I also loved, I had one of the best days ever when me and Katie did a games day. It was literally, we were like, oh, what me and Katie doing this afternoon? And I think it might have been Andy P. And he was like, we're just going to get kids to send in their ideas of games that you can play, and you and Katie are going to play games all afternoon. And I was like, I'm getting paid for this.
This is how I'm earning my money for today.
Yeah, and we had the best time. That was when Push the Tonju was invented.
Push the Tonju.
Which is just hilarious. It doesn't make any sense. Harry Tonju. Me and Katie would just move Harry Tonju across the desk. Who, basically, Harry Tonju, if you don't know who Harry Tonju is, which I feel like if you're watching this, or listening to this even, you probably do know who he is.
If you're watching this, get out of the room, please.
If you're watching this, can we have some privacy, please? Basically, it's a polystyrene cup turned upside down with a face on it. And he was called Harry Tonju, which I think was one of Phil's brainchilds, wasn't it?
Because he had a little tie that looked like a tongue.
Yeah.
So it was Harry Tongue, but Phil does not like pronouncing words the way they're meant to be pronounced. Harry Tonju.
Yeah.
There he is.
It was amazing.
He's a happy little chap.
And we just pushed him around the desk, and then one of us would go, hey! And then we'd won. It was like nobody had won, but one of us would say we'd won, and then the other one would be like, oh, really gutted about it. Or we did Granny's Pants.
We all won. Granny's Pants?
Yeah, where it was like me and Katie going, Granny's Pants. Granny's Pants. Granny's Pants? And then Katie would stand up and she'd be wearing Granny's Pants and she'd be like, no, Granny's Pants.
Ah.
And then I'd go, oh, that's embarrassing. Sit down, Katie.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Didn't even watch them.
Yeah, and then it would be like, so anyway, send in your games. It was just, honestly, we had the best time. And I think at the end of that, me and Katie were just like, God, how did we get so lucky to just be able to play games all afternoon? Like, I would have paid them to let me do that.
Well, sometimes the games result in a bit more investment in your physical person, usually not actually with any forewarning. Chris has asked about, for some reason, you'll remember this more than I do, because you were in it. There was an incident on Blue Peter, which was a vote to be gunged for, was it Children in Need?
Yes, it was for Children in Need.
It was between you, Katie and Radzi.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, stuff like that is odd enough. What they're asking about is, how the hell do you prepare for something like that? How do you brace yourself for something like that? How does it make you feel? Because I think I was gunged once in my entirety at CBBC by Katie, I think. I think she poured it over my head while I was sitting in the paddling pool. That was about it. But, I will never... To this day, I appreciate the art. That there are certain things, certain old jokes that have survived the test of time for a reason. I appreciate the art of a good fart joke.
Yeah.
If it's executed well, that stuff is really funny.
A Tommy Squeaker.
Little
Tommy Squeaker. I love a Tommy Squeaker.
I appreciate the art of a pie to the face.
Yeah.
I appreciate Gunge having his place. But as somebody who, I know you definitely got this as much as I did, and maybe more so, just because of stuff with Download and Danny's Castle.
Yeah.
How do you feel as a presenter when you're having to keep it together, but ultimately you're having to do your job whilst getting caked in, goo, or hit in the face with
I'm just
foam on a
thinking,
plate?
Did I ever get gunged? I don't think I did. I don't have a memory of it, unless it was so traumatic that I blocked it out. I don't know.
Blue Pete did a world record thing once where people, there's the amount of people gunged at a certain
wasn't
time.
It pies, that?
Oh, no, we did that one. Yeah, we did the pies.
Yeah,
so you didn't do the gunge one?
Never did the gunge one.
The pies one was horrendous, because I had a link after that. I was doing cover that afternoon.
Yeah, and it's always shaving cream, isn't it? And it's like, it burns the eyes.
Burns the eyes, but better than actual cream.
Yeah, because that stinks. Gross.
Absolutely stinks.
But yeah, I've been pied several times on CBBC and in real life. Shout out to my ex-boyfriend. No, I'm joking. I'm only joking. But I've been pied loads of times, cream pies.
Our last link, we did it through shaving foam, if I remember correctly. The last Shout Out Saturday link.
Yeah, I think, we did, and I was fuming about that because my makeup looked really nice and we were going out afterwards. I was like, I'll have to get it redone.
Cheers, team. Well done.
But yeah, pied loads of times. Got pied when we did the Christmas party, when we were all in the office. Sam and Mark were there. Yeah. And everything. I got pied then. And stuff and pied at the Pantos.
They were funny. They were odd.
Hackers, as Hackerella was the funniest day of my life to date. I just want to say, I just feel like I want to say thanks to CWC for letting me be involved in that, because honest to God, I've never laughed so much. I was hysterical that day.
I'm trying to remember exactly.
You and Dodge were the ugly sisters.
Me and Dodge were the ugly sisters, that's the one.
And like me...
Because I damed up so much for Prez Links around Christmas time that they've all blended into one. But yeah, that's right, isn't it?
And Hacker was Hackerella.
Dodge's wig just about came up to my shoulder. It was that massive.
Yeah, and Sam was the prince. Yeah. I don't think Mark was there for some reason.
No, it was just Sam. Mark was in Panto.
Mark was doing Panto.
He was off doing Panto.
And then Katie was the narrator, which just makes sense because...
With Ed the Duck.
Yeah, with Ed the Duck.
Christina Brown came in to do Ed the Duck for it. Yeah.
And then obviously like all the bit parts went to like me, Karim, Lauren. We were like random crowds people. And we were just like clapping, cheering. We had like really rubbish...
Like crowd noises, noises.
Yeah, and we were just like, yay! And we just had loads of really random lines. But genuinely, that day, I have never laughed so much. I watch that back on YouTube sometimes just for the memories because I'm like, it was hilarious.
It's bloody strange.
It was strange.
It's an odd job to do. Speaking of odd jobs to do, Rainbow Sky says, did you ever get a choice in the segment you presented for Friday Download, or were you just assigned to which one you were going to do?
I think they kind of spoke to us about what our interests were, but when I joined the show, it was kind of, everything was already, everything had already been given away, if that makes sense. Like, everybody had their own segment. So it was like, I came in, and then they kind of said to me about doing movies.
Sorry, my cat is trying to, I think steal things from your bag.
It's alright. There's nothing of worth in there. You can have it.
You've had the sandwich.
Yeah, I've had the sandwich. So all the segments had already been kind of given out to everybody. And they kind of said, what's your interest? But Dion was doing music. Aidan obviously did dance. That was his thing.
Imagine if they cast Aidan and then said, right, you're doing gardening.
Yeah. But then it's like, what else is interesting to kids? So it's like we had kind of style, but then the style download became the VTs. And then when George started, he had magic. So he was doing like tricks and stuff. We used to do VTs with him. So it's kind of like, I was maybe a bit like, what can we give Shannon? And in the end, I was given movie download because I am interested in TV and film, and it's like, oh, she's an actress, so, we'll give her that.
So me and Mum watching this horror film last night, everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
It's called Jason Takes Manhattan. It's the 6th film of the Friday the 13th franchise.
But what I will say,
it might be the 6th, I don't know. I've watched a lot of films, but I've never watched a Friday the 13th movie, apart from the first one.
I haven't.
And he's not even in it until the very end.
Is he not? No. Anyway,
Spoiler alert.
I was given movie download, but Kel had already been doing movie download, right?
So you had to fight to the death.
Well, no, basically it was a bit of a weird one. This was like, I didn't want to step on anybody's toes and kind of take movie download from him. So what happened was, I was given movie download in inverted commas. Yeah. And he was given, because I'm doing it, but just, it's not great for the audio, is it? I was given movie download, but not really. And he was given all of the celebrity interviews for movie download.
Junkets and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, Shannon's got movie download, but she's got the really crappy bits of movie download. So Shannon's going to do 3 hours of VO for it.
You guys are going to be combined, but you're going to do the bit where you go and talk to The Rock.
Yeah. Well, it was like Kel took over the forfeit one, which I can't remember what it was called. Face Off. Yeah. He took over Face Off from Danny, because Danny was only in it for one series, and then he left. So that was Kel's bit to present. He was in charge of Face Off, so he led it. So it was like, Kel introduces it, talks you through the game, says who's going to play, that kind of thing, talks you through the forfeits. That was his bit. And mine was movie download, but I only did VO for it.
Yeah.
So it would be like, right, come on, we're going to go and let you to do movie download now that I've started. They would give me 3 pages of VO, which I'd do, and it'd be like, so, coming up in the cinemas this week, the brand new film Toy Story. Now, this is for the older kids, if you're listening. Or it's kind of talking about like that, and he talks about the plot, and then you can catch it in the cinemas from the 28th of October to the 30th of November. Like, literally, that was my VO.
Yeah.
Boring. And it was a boring segment of the show. And then Kel would get to do all the best bits of movie download, but I just didn't want to step on anybody's toes and be like, well, if I'm doing, I kind of feel like I wish I'd have said now to everybody at Friday Download, like I wish I'd have said to Jeremy and stuff, can I let Kel have it and let him do all of it, and can I just have something else that's like my own?
Can I do something? Just anything. I can play a witch.
Yeah.
I just need 2 of the ladies.
Yeah. Can I have the witch download that the kids are absolutely demanding for? But yeah, so it was kind of like I don't know. It was a bit of a weird one. I think I got to do like one junket. I got to do like one interview.
Oh, who did you get to speak to? Can you recall?
Ariana Grande.
Oh, okay. It's going to be one and done for the show. It's like, that's pretty cool, I suppose.
Yeah.
So did you grab her top knot?
No, this was before the Top Knot days.
Oh, so this is, oh God, what was the show she was in? Sam and Cat, that's it. That's with Jeanette McCurdy.
That's the one.
I didn't study the competition too much in those days. I had to focus on what we were showing. But
yeah. But yeah, that's what...
I'm down with the kids.
We
2009, apparently.
Yeah, it was literally ages ago.
Speaking of ages ago, I hope you remember this, because if not, this is a really deep pull.
Oh, wow.
A-Town Dev says, question for Shannon. Why did you make, I think I've pulled something, your catchphrase on CBBC?
I think I've pulled something.
When I read that, I was like...
Was this my catchphrase?
When I read that, I was like, was that a thing? But then I remembered, I'm sure I heard you say that a couple of times. Where you were like, oh, I think I pulled something. It must have literally just been your go-to, like, bloody hell, what was that moment?
Yeah, I think it was my go-to. I don't ever remember
you
really...
You can't swear, really, can you, if you're having a reset, so...
I never remember really trying to push, I've pulled something, as like my thing, like getting it hashtagging. I never did that. I think it must have been, they used to have me doing like so much ridiculous stuff. Like I remember there's quite a lot of weird videos of me online, like that people have put up of like me doing the splits or stuff that was like, gaggy stuff on CBBC, like jokes and things. And there was bits that I think they must have made me do like the fake splits and then rip your trousers kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or like me doing a bit of a weird dance move or something and then going, I think I pulled something. And whether it was written in for me or whether that's what I just always used to go to, I don't know. But I genuinely don't remember ever trying to make it my catchphrase. But if it is, I'm bringing it back.
We're going to have to grill some of the researchers from that period and be like, did you guys write this in often on purpose?
Was it a thing? Or was I just obsessed with, I think I pulled something? Like, what's wrong with me?
Get it on a t-shirt, be fine.
Yeah.
Shorthand.
I'm TMing it.
Chewy Mort! My question is, if you could have been on the telly in any other era of kids' TV, so not the era you're in, sorry, which era might you have liked to have been in, and what would you have liked to have worked on?
Wow.
I suppose your point of reference really is either just stuff you've heard about or the stuff you grew up with. Really.
It's probably, it'd be the stuff I grew up with. So, one of my favourite programmes, and I've actually worked with Dave Benson Phillips, was Get Your Own Back.
Hey.
I used to love...
He's a big favourite on the Discord. Yeah, on the Broom Cupboard Discord.
Yeah. But he's a legend, isn't he? He is a CBBC legend. So Get Your Own Back, I would have loved to have been on. I loved kind of 50-50. What else was I going to say? Another show that I really liked. I used to love Dick and Tommy the Bungalow.
Yeah, I mean, gold standard.
Yeah, like
that was the one gold standard we weren't in.
Yeah, me and my mum used to watch that every. I think it was on a Saturday morning, it must have been.
Saturdays and Sundays.
Was it? Yeah. Me and Mum used to watch it and absolutely cry laughing. And I think I think my friend nearly applied to go on it and we were going to go on it. And then when I've watched it back, I've watched clips of it back and I'm like, what is even happening?
How did they get away with this?
I watched one actually on Twitter the other day, a clip from Dick and Tommy the Bungalow.
Is it that Bungalow Clips account?
No, I think it was just, putting
stuff out
right.
now, yeah.
Maybe it was that then.
They've been streaming it live on YouTube on Saturday and Sundays at the broadcast time.
No
so that
way.
people are like live commenting along with it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's amazing. Fans, man, they're the reason half this stuff still exists because they archive it. It's nuts.
Yeah, them doing really weird stuff and like Harry Bate, was he called Harry Bate?
Oh, Harry Batt.
Harry Batt.
Proper Geordie Copper.
Loved.
Near body move.
Loved that bit of the show, that segment. I used to love it. Honestly, I lived for that. So like I would like to have been Harry Batt's wife. Like
Mrs. Batt.
Yeah. Mrs. Batt.
Mrs. Batt. You have to practice your strong Geordie tones.
I would, yeah. I'd have to do something else. Can't do accents.
Just watch a bunch of Cheryl Cole interviews and affectate it.
Yeah, just get it from that.
Figure it out.
It's not offensive.
Sarah Millican, you know. Little Penguin, if you could have written an episode of a show that you introduced, what show would it be? Are you interested in writing?
No, do you know what? I'm not. I've never been into that kind of side of it. I've always thought, if I was going to do it, I'd love to be able to, and I've never really tried. Maybe I could if I gave it a go. But I've always been more... It is
sort of a discipline, in a way.
Yeah.
I write professionally, or occasionally for certain things, and I have to, fight myself to make sure it happens.
Sometimes I think I'm not funny enough.
See, I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't worry about
how
that
do
at
I
all.
even write anything funny?
Well, it depends on what you want to write, though. Maybe you write something against the grain.
Yeah.
Put pen to paper on something that you wouldn't normally, tackle. And see what happens.
Maybe. I've never had the urge.
Oh. Oh. Keep a pad by the bed.
Yeah.
There you go. You're fine.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
there
I
it
just
is.
never thought about it.
Scroll
to be
away.
honest. I think it's great, but I just think there's loads of people that do it better. I think I'm supposed to be in front of the camera.
You're there to bring the story to life.
Yeah.
You are the flesh on the bone
Yes.
of the chicken drumstick that is acting.
Acting.
Sounds bloody weird. I've got a couple more. This one is from Sophie McCoy, who says, for Shannon, first off, hello stranger.
Hello.
Now, in the sliding doors film of your life, where you hadn't become an actor, what would you have done as a career? So had you not, at age 8, started, telling people that you're not supposed to buy Call of Duty
Yeah.
and everything, had you not gone that path from a young age, do you think you would have been running McDonald's in the UK by now?
No, do you know what I think I would have gone into?
Bought a farm.
Which is kind of what I am doing at the same time. I'm really interested in sort of how the mind works. When I was at college, I was at college for a couple of months, and I ended up having to leave because I was doing Danny's Castle, and it was just too.
It was too much to juggle.
Yeah, and at college they're a bit less supportive in the sense that they don't. It's on you to get the grades. At school,
it's
they want
free
to get
education, but they don't want to have to deal with the paperwork of taking you in and out and
exactly. And they're not gonna
they're not beholden.
put loads of effort into putting you some work aside so you can catch up. It was kind of if you're not here, it's on you.
Yeah.
So it was a bit too much, and basically they made me drop dance and drama as my options because a lot of that is practical work, and obviously if it's group work, I'm letting the group down, which I totally do
FMPs
understand. Yeah. So it was if I'm going to college and I'm not doing two of the things that I really want to do, that I want to pursue as a career, then why am I going to college? And it was too much. Couldn't keep up with it. So anyway, I dropped out, but I did do film studies and psychology as my other options, and I loved psychology. I was fascinated by it. I would still go back now and I'd love to do psychology as a degree. So I think I've always had an interest in the mind and how people work, what makes us tick.
Yeah.
So if I'd have not gone down the acting route and I'd gone to college, I think I probably would have done a psychology degree and gone into something like that. But what I'm actually doing at the minute as well is I am training to be a counsellor on the side of my acting.
Yeah.
As kind of a bit of a backup, bit of a stability kind of thing that you kind of don't get from this industry, which is basically psychology, but in a different sense. It's more about the therapy side of things as opposed to...
It's being an ear.
Yes, totally. And I think I'm that kind of person anyway. I think people end up gravitating towards me, for advice or to talk to me because I think I kind of, maybe I look like I've got it together. I haven't, but they think I have.
It's the human experience, guys.
Yeah. And
Give everyone time. Give everyone some time.
I'm a very empathic and sensitive person. I always have been. And I just think that really lends itself well to that kind of profession. So, and also I think there's two sides to the counselling thing. I think the counselling really helps me with presenting because it gives me a different angle of... It's a bit like journalism in a sense because you're really listening to somebody, you're really taking in what they're saying.
Yeah.
It gives you more ideas on how to take the conversation further, how to ask an inquisitive question, how to develop a deeper session with somebody, as opposed to before, if I was interviewing somebody, I might be like, so when did you start that? Whereas now I'd be really listening to what they're saying and it would aid me in developing the interview, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think it's another string to my bow. It gives me another angle with the presenting. And also, this industry is so difficult for mental health. So difficult that I'm I want to counsel people in the industry because I know the struggles, I know the difficulties, I know what we go through as performers. So I get it, do you know? So it's speaking to somebody that understands, but also I'm trained.
You've been very vocal about it on Twitter as well, which I think a lot of people appreciate. Really do. The idea that, hey, this industry is not a cut and dry...
It's not.
...experience for everyone. For about 98% of people who are performers, this is not, a simple A leads to B. It is not
at all. And I think
your day-to-day is not a certain thing.
No.
And that's okay.
Exactly. And the reason I want to break that stigma is because I think I was fed that as well, that it was oh God, everybody looks like they're doing so well and they're working all the time and everything's brilliant. Why is that not happening for me? Am I just really rubbish? Do people not like me? Am I not,
No.
Why am I not doing as well as they are? But actually, it's such a lie. And social media is a massive issue with that, obviously, because that feeds into that whole fake life where you just see somebody doing really well and you're like, but I'm not, that's not me, so what am I doing wrong?
Why am I not a pair of hot dogs on a sun lounger every week? What's going on?
Yeah, why is my life not so perfect? But nobody's life is perfect. And I just think there's so much pressure, particularly on this industry, that like, if you're not working, God, well, you must be rubbish. Why are you not working? But everybody that I have worked with that's been honest, that's a genuine person. I've worked with a lot of fake people as well that wouldn't tell you that and wouldn't be totally honest about it. But the majority of, and particularly sort of people that do, you know, West End productions in London, like proper top dollar performers, like they're amazing. They've got normal jobs in between acting jobs because that's life. So I just feel like I want to let people know that, yeah, when I'm not working in between acting jobs, I'm probably doing a normal job because I've got to pay the bills. But it doesn't mean that I've failed, and it doesn't mean that you failed if you're not doing it. So I feel like we need to break the stigma. We need more transparency in this industry, and we need counsellors for performers because it's the amount of rejection that you deal with as an actor or a dancer or a singer or just a general performer in this industry.
A known personality.
Totally.
Look at the whole, without going too in depth, the whole thing off the back of Love Island and everything.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
All of that, the amount of rejection that you deal with, and sort of, and even not even the rejection from not getting a job, but like the online trolling and everything. There's loads, and I just feel like if I can offer somebody an ear, like you said, to speak to me, and I get it, I can totally be in their frame of reference because I understand, I've been there, I've felt it myself, I can empathise, then that to me is great, and I think that everybody needs that.
So to answer your question, Soph,
a counsellor.
she's also doing it. Like, she's doing it and doing it.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, okay. I kind of want to end there because it's just like a brilliant point.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it?
We do have one more question.
Okay, one more.
From Chris Wood. He's a good egg, though. He's a good egg.
He's a good egg.
The question is, have you murdered any? No. Please tell us about your favourite moment when live TV went a bit wrong, off script, or awry, and you couldn't speak for laughing.
Oh, God. Loads of times. I couldn't even think of a one specific one because I genuinely, like, when I say, you know, it has its highs and lows, obviously, with every job, but I can genuinely say that I had the best time on CBBC. It was every day I was laughing. I laughed on that job more than I've probably ever laughed in my entire life.
It's just a big old circus. Right?
Just like... And I adore you, you know I do. And I just think you're so talented, not to, like, blow smoke up your ass.
No, please do.
But, like, you are, and you're hilarious. And, I mean, you can talk for England and you drive me insane at the same time, but you just know, like, there's just something about you. And every time that I would work with you, or Phil, Warwick, Katie, Karim, Kel, like, I would have such a laugh. And you just don't get that with other jobs. But I will say, like, probably Sir Johnson Pellets, Rancid Frank that you reminded me of that I completely forgot about. When Mark Barton did Roy, just dancing Roy, like just a Roy head. Like I used to die laughing at that. When me and Katie did Games Day, when we did Hackarella, like there's millions of your stuff. You'd struggle to find a day that I didn't enjoy.
Aww.
Genuinely. And it's not just the content, but it's the people. Like, it's like a proper family, it really is.
Well, I've enjoyed sitting down with you, by Jove.
Oh, by Jove.
And I'll be honest, the main thing I'm taking away from the last 5 minutes is I think you should do a podcast.
Do you think?
I honestly think you should. I think you should do one about the industry and the, you know, the being an ear. Call it the ear.
The ear.
Actor's ear.
Actor's ear. Yeah, do you know what? Maybe.
Ear.
Maybe that's what people need. I don't know, but then it's like it's quite personal, isn't it? So I think it wouldn't be as hilarious as this one. It would be maybe a bit heavy, but. Maybe people need to hear the ear.
Yeah. We'll work on the slogan.
We will.
For the folks at home that know where they can follow your doings and your wares and keep up to date with your stuff on the old public forums.
Yes, on my Twitter, Shannon Flynn 22, and my Instagram, really, if you just want to see me post, like, funny selfies. No, I don't really post anything work-wise on my Instagram. But Twitter, I keep up to date with that. And I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on a public Facebook, so please don't try and follow me on there because it
ain't you.
It ain't me. Ain't me, Huns.
It's the horror movie version.
That's
of
not
you.
me. Is that a song?
That's not.
What
me.
is that?
That's not.
That's
name.
not me.
I don't know.
Minute, that's not me. Anyway, you know the songs. The kids know. I'm not down with the kids anymore. Should we end it there?
Yeah, I think we have to for legal reasons. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Out of the Broom Cupboard was hosted by Christopher Yonko Johnson and starred guest Shannon Flynn. The episode was produced by Chris Johnson and Matt Watson. The theme music is Breaktime by Kevin MacLeod on Incompetech.com. For details on how you can support the show and benefit from a bunch of perks by becoming a patron, head to patreon.com/OOTBC. We'll see you next month with special guest Ian Sterling. A smooth taste, golden, fluffy texture, so Moorish, so light, so decadent. None of these things describe the weekly pop culture podcast, The Big Damn Cast, in which two friends discuss nerdy news, geeky gossip, and so much more. The Big Damn Cast, available every Thursday on Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud. It's free, and nothing tastes better than something that's free.